Chapter 2599. Oh no, this is the power of a sage. A fragment of a sage. Damn it, this guy actually brought a fragment of a sage and attacked suddenly. He wants to kill me. The Crimson Dragon gritted its teeth. Lin Xian's expression was also cold. You want to kill me with just a fragment of a sage? Stop dreaming. I have a fragment of a sage too. The next moment, he threw out the sage's skeletal hand and tore open a corner of the seal. Suddenly, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Strong winds swept across, causing a strange phenomenon. The two fragments of a sage clashed in the sky, and a terrifying force pierced through all directions. The Yin-Yang sect elites all retreated, their faces full of shock. It was too terrifying. They could not withstand this force at all. Do you think you can kill me? After blocking the opponent's attack, Lin Xian sneered. The Yin-Yang saint's face darkened. He did not expect his opponent to react so quickly and block his ultimate attack. The next moment, he stood in the void. There was a black and white mirror above his head. It was bobbing up and down, and only 1/3 of it was intact. It looked like a Yin-Yang mirror. I can still kill you without a fragment of a sage. The Yin-Yang saint gritted his teeth. Lin Xian laughed. Is that so? You don't have a fragment of a sage, but I do. Ruzalong, go, kill him. What? You still have a fragment of a sage? Hearing this, the Yin-Yang saint's eyelids twitched wildly. The Yin-Yang sect elites behind him also exclaimed. Heavens, how can there be two fragments of a sage? Impossible. He must be lying. The fragments of a sage are so precious. How can he have two? Moreover, he can't control two fragments at once. He must be scaring us. The Yin-Yang sect elites roared angrily. The Yin-Yang saint sneered. Do you think I will believe you? How can you have two fragments of a sage? Is that so? Lin Xian sneered and did not explain. The Crimson Dragon flew over. Damn Yin-Yang brat. You wanted to kill me just now? Now, have a taste of being killed. However, you're very lucky to be able to die at the hands of a saint's fragment. You're worthy of your status as a saint. At this point, the Crimson Dragon opened its mouth and a broken pagoda appeared. The pagoda was about the size of a palm. It was extremely dilapidated, and many parts of it were filled with cracks. This was the fragment of the saint that he had snatched from Zhan Wuan. After obtaining the Crimson Dragon, he had sealed and refined it. Now, he could finally control it. At this moment, the Crimson Dragon was summoned and tore open a corner of the seal. Suddenly, light swept across the sky like a sun. Boom! The Crimson Dragon waved its claw, and the broken pagoda flew out. Its power was like a vast ocean, rushing towards the Yin-Yang child. No, the Yin-Yang saint's face turned green. He didn't expect that Yi Fujian really had a second saint fragment. There was no way he could resist it. The next moment, he turned around and fled. He used the chaotic Yin-Yang steps to the extreme. He even turned into a flash of light and disappeared from his original spot. However, the attack of the saint's fragment was extremely powerful. Although he managed to dodge the most fatal attack, the shockwaves from the saint's fragment still struck his body and knocked him out of the void. Bang! Half of the Yin-Yang saint's body was shattered, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Ruzalong, leave his storage ring behind, Lin Xian said from the side. The Crimson Dragon nodded. Don't worry, Bin Huang will definitely succeed. He controlled the broken pagoda again and attacked. Another attack. Saint. In the distance, the Yin-Yang sect's powerful figures roared crazily. They all used their ultimate techniques to attack the Yin-Yang saint. However, no matter how strong their attacks were, they couldn't withstand a single blow from the saint fragment. The Yin-Yang saint roared and used the chaotic Yin-Yang steps again. At the same time, he used all his ultimate techniques and treasures to resist. Boom, 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 boom. The heavens and earth roared, and the light enveloped millions of miles. The vibrations caused all the beasts below to roar. When everything disappeared, only clouds of blood mist were left in the sky. The Yin-Yang saint had long disappeared, leaving behind 2 storage rings and a Yin-Yang sword. Saint. Seeing this, the powerful figures of the Yin-Yang sect roared crazily. Dead. Their Yin-Yang saint had actually died. This was like a bolt from the blue. They couldn't accept it at all. Previously, their holy son had been in high spirits, leading them to kill the other party. They also thought that their saint's strength had increased greatly, and he had the saint fragment with him. They thought that it would be a piece of cake. However, they didn't expect that the other party would be fine, but their saint would be killed. It's over. A huge earthquake, a shocking earthquake. The Yin-Yang sect would definitely go crazy. After all, the death of a saint was a huge matter to a sacred ground. Damn brat, you killed our saint. You're dead meat. The Yin-Yang sect won't let you off. The powerful figures of the Yin-Yang sect roared crazily. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Ruzalong, kill them all. Don't let any of them off. I'll take the Yin-Yang mirror. Lin Xian activated the saint's handbone and charged toward the Yin-Yang mirror. Although the Yin-Yang saint was no longer controlling it, the Yin-Yang mirror resisted with all its might. The Yin-Yang chi on it turned into two Yin-Yang chilants, roaring loudly. Boom, boom. The two sides were locked in a fierce battle. The Crimson Dragon used the broken pagoda and killed all the powerful figures of the Yin-Yang sect in an instant. Then, he turned around to help Lin Xian. The two of them worked together to suppress the Yin-Yang mirror. Finally, the Yin-Yang mirror was suppressed by the combined power of the two saint fragments. In the end, it was sealed. Ha ha, I'm rich. I'm really rich this time. The Crimson Dragon laughed heartily. Not only did he kill the Yin-Yang saint, but he also obtained a saint fragment. This was definitely a powerful trump card. Other than that, he also obtained a heaven-class sword, the Yin-Yang sword, and the Yin-Yang saint storage ring. Lin Xian put away all the spoils of war, then turned around and left. Zhongzhou, a fairyland. This was the Yin-Yang sect. At this moment, in a hall of the Yin-Yang sect, a Yin-Yang token suddenly cracked from the middle. Then, it broke into two halves and fell to the ground. When the powerful figure guarding the side saw this, he suddenly stood up. His expression was extremely ugly. The saint had died. How could this be? He was too shocked. This Yin-Yang token had a trace of the Yin-Yang saint's soul origin. It could record his condition. If the Yin-Yang saint was killed, this Yin-Yang token would break instantly. Now that it was broken, it meant that the Yin-Yang saint was killed. But who dared to kill the Yin-Yang saint? He did not know, but this was definitely shocking. He hurriedly sent the news over. As expected, the Yin-Yang sect was enraged. A terrifying murderous aura tore through the sky. Clang, 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 the entire Yin-Yang sect was filled with the deep sound of a bell, which reverberated through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. At the same time, a cold voice sounded. Investigate. Who killed the Yin-Yang saint? We can't let him go. Chapter 2600. The Yin-Yang sect was frantically searching for the culprit. On the other side, the 3 battle monarchs of the war tribe also looked terrible. The 4 battle monarchs were in contact with each other. Not long ago, they received news from Zhang Wuhan that they had found his tracks. However, when they tried to contact Zhang Wuhan, they could not reach him. Damn it! Something had happened. The 3 battle monarchs looked grave. They hurriedly charged in the direction and location that Zhang Wuhan had given them. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon entered the Black Earth and let it fly. The two of them searched the Yin-Yang saint's storage room. Lin Xian was very interested in the Yin-Yang saint's chaotic Yin-Yang steps. He wanted to see if there was such a technique in the storage ring. Indeed, there was. Lin Xian was delighted. When his soul entered the storage ring, he found many secret martial arts manuals. One of them was the chaotic Yin-Yang steps. It was an expensive superior-grade technique. No wonder it was so powerful. His demigods and semi-devils was also very magical. However, he had only obtained the first half of it. He had already mastered it. If he could not find the second half, it would be difficult for his speed to increase greatly. However, if he cultivated the chaotic Yin-Yang steps, it would be different. After all, the superior-grade heaven-grade technique was very terrifying. If he wanted to master it, his speed could increase further. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to cultivate the chaotic Yin-Yang steps. He opened the technique and skimmed through it. Then, he took a deep breath. He realized that he had underestimated the chaotic Yin-Yang steps. The chaotic Yin-Yang steps was very terrifying. It was said that when it was mastered, one could reverse the void. This was definitely a terrifying technique. However, superior-grade heaven-grade techniques were very difficult to cultivate. Lin Xian knew this. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. Other than the chaotic yin-yang steps, there were many precious divine crystals and treasures in the yin-yang saint storage ring. Lin Xian gave these to the Crimson Dragon and started cultivating. Outside, the black earth flew quickly. About 2 days later, Heitu's voice suddenly came. "Kid, there's something wrong up ahead. Do you still want to proceed?" Lin Xian opened his eyes. His figure flickered and appeared outside the black earth. Then, he frowned. At the side, the Crimson Dragon also said, "The aura around here is so strange. Why do I feel so creeped out?" Lin Xian's expression was solemn as well. His flaming robe enveloped him. The great dragon's sword soul in his body circulated to resist the terrifying pressure. Could it be a forbidden land of death? Lin Xian was shocked. He now knew that the true spirit world had several forbidden lands of death. Even unrivaled kings didn't dare to enter them, and no one dared to talk about them. Perhaps this was one of the places of death. However, the Crimson Dragon shook its head. "That's not right. There's no place of death in this area." "Wait, what is this place?" The Dark God Dragon took out the map and looked at it. Then, he exclaimed in shock. To think that he would be here. "Where's this place?" Lin Xian asked. The Crimson Dragon took a deep breath. Although this wasn't a forbidden land of death, it was still a very terrifying place. This place should be very close to the Black Demon Cliff. Black Demon Cliff? What kind of place is that? Lin Xian was puzzled. The place where a saint fell. Moreover, it was an extremely terrifying sword saint who fell here. It was rumored that the stunning Nine-Sun sword saint had fallen here. This Nine-Sun sword saint was very powerful. It was said that he had hopes of becoming a great emperor back then. But in the end, he was still killed. What? There was such a history? Lin Xian was shocked when he heard this. He looked around and was extremely shocked. An extremely powerful sword saint had fallen here. No wonder he felt that the surrounding space was much sharper than other places. Who killed the Nine-Sun sword saint? He didn't dare to imagine. The Crimson Dragon shook its head. It didn't know. It was said that it was an extremely terrifying demon saint. "Kid, this place is too strange. This is the place where a peerless sword saint fell. We mustn't go near it." Lin Xian also nodded. He decided to walk around the nearby area and experience the mysteries of the Black Demon Cliff. Then, he was ready to leave. The two of them walked around for about tens of thousands of miles. At this time, Lin Xian suddenly stopped. The Crimson Dragon also frowned because the road ahead was blocked by a figure. It was a man who stood in the void with a cold expression. He held a giant axe in his hand that felt as heavy as a mountain. His eyes were like divine light. There was no emotion in them, only cold killing intent. His long golden hair danced in the air like golden flames. Seeing the long golden hair, Lin Xian frowned. The Crimson Dragon muttered softly. Why does he feel like he's from the war tribe? Kid, are you Lin Xian? In front, the imposing figure asked coldly. Yes, I am. Lin Xian asked back. Who are you? Why are you blocking my way? I am the war tribe's Sky Axe warlord. His loud voice resounded in all directions. It was indeed someone from the war tribe. Hearing this name, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon both frowned. They did not expect that there would be another elite from the war tribe besides Zhan Wuhan. The aura of the tall figure in front of them was not any weaker than Zhan Wuhan. The Sky Axe warlord asked in a low voice, Where is Zhan Wuhan? How did you manage to escape from him? He was very surprised. Logically speaking, with Zhan Wuhan's strength and trump cards, it should not be a problem to kill the other party. But now, they could not contact Zhan Wuhan. Could it be? There was a result that they did not dare to imagine. How did he escape from the pursuit? Of course, he killed him. Su Chen sneered. I advise you to hurry back to the war tribe. Otherwise, you'll end up like him. Presumptuous. Kid, you're courting death. You said you killed Zhan Wuhan? That's impossible. The Sky Axe warlord shook his head coldly. He did not believe it. You can try whether or not I have the strength to do so. Lin Xian did not waste any time and directly attacked with the ancient dragon abyss sword. You dare to attack me? You're courting death. The Sky Axe warlord's expression was cold as he raised the giant axe in his hand. The giant axe emitted thousands of rays of light and directly cut through the void. The axe was too terrifying. It was as if it was a divine axe that could split the heavens. It carried with it an unparalleled power. When the axe fell, it was extremely domineering. It was as if a giant mountain was pressing down from the sky. Boom! The space in front of Lin Xian was instantly blasted apart. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's pupils constricted as they quickly retreated. Boom! They were swept by the shockwave of the attack and felt the blood in their bodies churn. Damn! This guy's strength is terrifying. The Crimson Dragon also had lingering fears. Even though his defense was strong, he still felt his heart skip a beat. Lin Xian's expression was solemn as well. 5 elemental swords. 5 swords seal the sky. Lin Xian swung the ancient dragon abyss sword. Suddenly, 5 huge swords of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth appeared in the sky, connecting heaven and earth. They descended from the sky. The Sky Axe warlord was enveloped. Chapter 26:01. The 5 elemental swords connected with each other, forming a terrifying 5 elemental sword formation that sealed the Sky Axe battleship. At the same time, he used Flower Protector, and a terrifying sound wave attack surged toward the 5 elemental sword formation. That demonic sound made people's expressions change. As expected, the Sky Axe battleship sensed the terrifying demonic sound, and his expression changed. He waved the giant axe in his hand and slashed in all directions to resist the demonic sound. Flower Protector. It was the legendary Flower Protector. Kid, I didn't expect you to have such a thing. No wonder you could escape from Zhang Wuhan's pursuit. The Sky Axe battleship had heard of ancient weapons like Flower Protector. However, he didn't expect Lin Fan to have it. Flower Protector is powerful, but you can't fully use it with your current strength. I think it has several layers of seals. Do you think that you can threaten me with just this kind of power? The Sky Axe battleship sneered. If an invincible king or sage attacked him with Flower Protector, he would not be able to resist. But his opponent? He was not afraid at all. In the next moment, he would use his giant axe. One axe to destroy the sky. Boom! A huge crack appeared on the 5 elemental sword formation, and then it shattered. The Sky Axe battleship charged out. At this moment, the Sky Axe battleship was filled with murderous intent. He walked in the sky like a mighty god. The axe fell, tearing through the void, intending to cut Lin Xian in half. Clang! Lin Xian raised his sword to block. The long sword slashed across the sky, and a terrifying sword light illuminated the entire sky. Under the attack, the void cracked open, and a huge crack spread over 10,000 meters. It was a terrifying sight. Boom! The giant axe was blocked, but the Sky Axe battleship did not stop attacking. He clenched his left hand into a fist and punched out. A golden light shot into the sky like the sun, carrying with it an incomparably powerful force. Heavenly Divine Fist. The Sky Axe battleship used the Heavenly Divine Fist. The Heavenly Divine Fist. Seeing this, Lin Xian was stunned for a moment. Then he sneered. He clenched his left hand into a fist and punched forward like a meteor streaking across the sky. Bang! The 2 fists collided, creating an earth-shattering sound. With the 2 of them as the center, more and more spatial cracks appeared around them. In the next moment, both of them retreated several miles, stepping on the void. The chi and blood in their bodies were roiling, and their arms were numb. Lin Xian snorted coldly as he circulated the secret art of longevity and the great dragon's sword spirit to restore his strength. The Sky Axe battle monarch raised his head, his pupils constricting. Damn it! How do you know the heaven battling divine fist? He was dumbfounded because he realized that his opponent was using the same fist technique as him. But how is that possible? What he used was the War Clan's absolute art. Aside from their War Clan's martial artists, no one else knew it. Furthermore, even in the War Clan, not everyone knew how to do it. Apart from a few elders and geniuses, Only the 4 Battle Kings knew how to do it. But why would the other party use it? What do you think? Lin Xian sneered but did not answer. The Sky Axe Warlord's pupils shrank. Could it be that Zhang Wuhan had really been killed? He really didn't want to believe it, because Zhang Wuhan's strength was about the same as his. But if he hadn't been killed, how could his opponent know the heaven-battling divine fist? He must have taken Zhang Wuhan's storage ring. At this thought, the Sky Axe Warlord's face darkened. Considering the current situation and the fact that they couldn't contact Zhang Wuhan earlier, it seemed that Zhang Wuhan was most likely dead. Damn brat, I don't know how you killed Zhang Wuhan, but you've committed a heinous crime. Now, go to hell and repent. The Sky Axe Warlord swung his axe again. This time, he used his bloodline power. The empty palace was shaking, and Lin Xian's heart was also trembling violently. He realized that the Sky Axe Warlord was stronger than Zhang Wuhan. At least in terms of strength, he was stronger than Zhang Wuhan. Buzz. Lin Xian opened the 5 seals on the Molten Dragon Abyss Sword. His combat strength increased again, and he charged forward. An intense collision ensued. Terrifying sword lights crisscrossed the sky. Sometimes they turned into lightning, sometimes they turned into the power of the 5 elements, and sometimes they turned into a sky full of chaotic chi. The Sky Axe Battlemaster was forced to retreat. It was as if the heavens and earth had been split apart. His entire arm was numb, and he couldn't feel it. The Sky Axe Warlord was shocked. His opponent's combat strength was so strong that he could even suppress him. Damn it, get out of my way. Bloodline runes appeared on his body, and his strength soared. He forced Lin Xian back. He had gained the upper hand again. But soon, he was sent flying. That was because a dragon-shaped sword shadow that was 1,000 miles long had flown down from the sky and collided with his huge axe, sending it flying. His entire body was sent flying backwards. The Sky Axe Warlord only stopped after flying for a few thousand miles. He made a grabbing motion with his hand, which blotted out the sun, and grabbed the giant axe that had fallen to the ground. At the same time, the bones in his body let out cracking sounds as they quickly reconnected. He stared ahead with murderous intent. Lin Xian looked at him and said coldly, "I told you that you can't do it. Kid, don't be so smug." This time, the battle tribe has sent 4 warlords. In addition to Zhang Wuhan and me, 2 warlords are on their way here. This time, you'll definitely die. What? 2 warlords? Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. The Crimson Divine Dragon's eyelids twitched. Damn, the battle tribe is too shameless. You sent 4,000-year-old monsters to kill a late-stage prodigy? You've really lost all your face. To be honest, he was furious. Lin Xian was also filled with murderous intent. You sent 4 warlords to kill me? You think too highly of me. However, those 2 battle emperors might not be able to make it here in a short period of time. The battle tribe likes to fight with numbers. Today, I'll let you have a taste of what it's like to fight with numbers. Ruse along, attack together. Don't hold back. Beat him up. Lin Xian was truly enraged. The other party was simply too shameless. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to hold back. The Crimson Dragon walked over and laughed. Great. I love drinking the blood of the battle tribe's experts. Indeed, the blood of the battle tribe's experts contained the power of the bloodline, which would be of great help to him. What can a snake do to me? The Sky Axe Warlord snorted disdainfully. Snake my ass. The Crimson Dragon roared. He swayed his body and transformed into a giant dragon that was 10,000 feet long. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws, filling the entire sky. His aura also erupted in an instant. It was as if countless giant mountains were pressing down on him. The surrounding void began to shatter rapidly. Roar! A dragon roar resounded, and the dragon flames that filled the sky descended from the sky, turning into huge fireballs. They brought with them surging flames as they descended. In an instant, the Sky Axe Warlord was engulfed. Bang! 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 The Sky Axe Warlord waved his giant axe to fight back. However, he had underestimated the flames. They were as terrifying as divine flames. Even his body was set ablaze, burning rapidly. Chapter 2602. Die. The Sky Axe Battle Monarch roared. 18 giant axes rushed out from his body and extinguished the flames around him. However, his body was charred black, and he was in a sorry state. Damn it! The Skyaxe Battle Monarch's face turned gloomy. He realized that the snake's strength was not any weaker than his. This would be troublesome. His life would be in danger if he was attacked by two people who were on par with him. He was not a fool. He decided to retreat. When the other two battle monarchs arrived, the three battle monarchs would attack together. But how could he escape? Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon had their eyes on him. There was no way the Skyaxe Battle Monarch would be able to escape. Under the gaze of Lin Xian and the Crimson Divine Dragon, the Skyaxe Warlord trembled as a chill ran down his spine. Damn it! These two guys are not going to let me go. He roared and waved the giant axe in his hand to fight back. However, he was no match for them. Bang! A shattering sound came from the void. Like a meteor, he was blasted away, spraying a large amount of blood in the sky. Bang! Bang! The Skyaxe Battle Monarch was indeed powerful. Even though he was injured, he seized the opportunity to escape. The blood was from the battle tribe and contained the power of bloodline. He used a secret technique and turned it into a crimson dragon. It wrapped around him and tried to tear the void apart to escape. Lin Xian's long sword slashed down from the sky. The huge sword light was like a heavenly monument. It shattered the void and sent the crimson dragon flying. Bang! The Skyaxe Battle Monarch vomited blood and was sent flying. Crack! At this time, the crimson dragon arrived. It waved the two heaven-grade artifacts in its hands and attacked the Skyaxe Battle Monarch. Even though the Skyaxe battleship was clad in formidable armor and an ancient shield, he was still sent tumbling on the ground. A loud dragon roar sounded. The dragon sword spirit had completely exploded. It turned into a dragon star sword shadow and attacked. The ancient shield was split in half. The crimson dragon's claws roared and slammed into the armor, shattering it. Poof! Large chunks of the Skyaxe Battle King's bones were broken. His flesh and blood were clawed up by the dragon claws and scattered in the air. Lin Xian slashed out with his sword, directly chopping off one of his arms. In the blink of an eye, the Skyaxe Warlord was severely injured and almost died. He roared like a madman, but there was no one around. As for the other two Battle Kings, they wouldn't be able to make it in time either. Right now, a sense of despair surfaced in his heart. It was the same despair that Zhang Wuhan had felt earlier, because they were too arrogant. In their eyes, the other party was just a brat, an ant-like existence. They did not put him in their hearts at all. But now, they realized that they were gravely mistaken. Not only were the two people in front of them not ants, but they were also terrifying dragons that could threaten their lives. Damn it, you can't kill me. I am the Battle Clan's fourth Great War Prince. If you kill me, the war race won't let you off. The Skyaxe Battle King was finally afraid. He no longer had the arrogance from before. Now, he was begging for mercy. Lin Xian sneered. Won't let me off? Do you think that the war race will let me off if I don't kill you? What a joke. Ignorant. Now, you can go to hell and accompany Zhang Wuhan. Lin Xian took out the sage's handbone. The Crimson Dragon also took out the broken pagoda. The Skyaxe Battle King was shocked when he saw the broken pagoda. That was Zhang Wuhan's Dharma treasure. Now, he was finally sure that Zhang Wuhan had been killed. Damn it! His face instantly turned green. There was no way he could withstand two sages' broken pagoda. Boom! Heaven and earth collapsed. Everything within 1,000,000 miles was reduced to nothingness. When everything returned to normal, the Skyaxe Battle King's body fell to the ground. His body was in pieces, and his armor was shattered. Blood flowed like a river. His life, including his soul, had been completely destroyed. The Battle King of the war race was nothing more than that. The Crimson Dragon looked at this scene and sneered. He took off his storage ring and threw it to Lin Xian. At the same time, he opened his bloody mouth and swallowed the Skyaxe Battle King's body. At a place extremely far away, the other two Battle Kings were quickly rushing over. All of a sudden, one of the jades in their hands exploded. Oh no, the Skyaxe Battle King had an accident. Seeing this, the two of them roared like crazy. Damn it! Damn it! They did not know why the Sky Axe Battle King had an accident after Zhanwuan. It was inconceivable. Therefore, the two of them decided to meet up first and then kill their way over together. The two of them quickly met up. Lin Xian collected the spoils of war, then turned around and left. They did not go far because Lin Xian wanted to explore Black Demon Cliff. What? Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon shuddered. Kid, do you want to die? He really did not want to go in. However, Lin Xian said that he felt a sharp sword intent between heaven and earth. If he could comprehend it, it would be of great help to his path of swordsmanship. Indeed, Lin Xian was very talented in swordsmanship and had reached a very high level. Few people of the same level could match him in swordsmanship, not even the elders of the sacred grounds. But now, when he arrived at Black Demon Cliff, he found that the aura of swordsmanship around him was much stronger. It was countless times stronger than his, because it was left behind by the Nine-Sun Sword Saint. The Nine-Sun Sword Saint was so powerful that tens of thousands of years after his death, the aura of swordsmanship still remained. One could imagine how terrifying the other party's swordsmanship was. This was an endless treasure trove for Lin Xian, although it was a little dangerous. However, Lin Xian felt that he still wanted to explore it. Of course, he promised the Crimson Dragon that he would definitely not enter the depths of Black Demon Cliff and would only take a look at the periphery. Hearing this promise, the Crimson Dragon breathed a sigh of relief. Because this place was too strange, the sacred grounds did not dare to casually inquire about it, and the invincible kings would not come here for no reason. Well, let's take a look at the periphery. The Crimson Dragon accompanied Lin Xian and set off forward. When the two of them walked for 10,000 miles, the aura of spiritual power around them suddenly became stronger. There were fine sword waves wandering in the air, and at the same time, there was a black demonic aura circling in the air. The two auras existed in the world at the same time. These sword waves should have been left behind by the Nine-Sun Sword Saint. But what was this black demonic aura? Could it be left behind by the Demon Saint who killed the Nine-Sun Sword Saint? Heavens, who was the other party? How could he kill the Sword Saint? Sensing the aura and energy around him, Lin Xian was extremely shocked. The Crimson Dragon stood at the side and said, "Kid, do you see those broken mountains in the distance? It is said that they were collapsed by a drop of blood. A drop of blood crushed a group of mountains." Lin Xian was shocked, as expected of the blood of a saint. Chapter 2603. The blood of a saint could be passed down, and it was extremely terrifying. It contained the fragments of laws, and it was said that a drop of a saint's blood could easily kill a peerless powerhouse. Even an invincible king would not dare to touch it. Lin Xian stood there, silently comprehending. However, the demonic aura in front of him quickly rolled and turned into black beasts, pouncing towards him. Demonic aura, the aura of the Devil Saint, even after tens of thousands of years, still possessed such a terrifying divine ability. The Crimson Dragon looked at this scene in shock. Indeed, the demonic beasts formed by the demonic aura were extremely terrifying. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they charged towards Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. Before they arrived, the boundless demonic aura that carried with it a violent aura had already caused the blood in Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon to churn. "Damn it, get out of my way!" Lin Xian roared and slashed out with his sword. But soon, his expression changed. This was because he realized that his sword did not achieve the effect he had expected. There was no terrifying sword light rushing out. "Damn it, what's going on?" Lin Xian was surprised. The Crimson Dragon also exclaimed, "Why do I feel like I'm being suppressed? No wonder it's called the ominous place. Kid, let's go." The dark red dragon swung its tail, shattering the void and sending a few demonic beasts flying. Lin Xian also frowned. Was he being suppressed? He tried again and realized that his sword chi was indeed being suppressed. The Nine-Sun Sword Saint's sword intent was too powerful. Other swordsmen and kings would definitely be suppressed here. Not only the Nine-Sun Sword Saint, but there was also an even more terrifying Demon Saint. The demonic aura that he emitted could suppress other kings. Therefore, when one came to the Black Demon Cliff, one's strength would be greatly reduced by half. No wonder it was called the ominous place. Indeed, just standing at the edge was already so terrifying. Lin Xian took a deep breath, but his eyes were shining with excitement. His sword chi being suppressed was also a form of cultivation for him. Buzz, he immediately pulled out the ancient dragon abyss sword and charged forward. So what if there was no sword chi? With Lin Xian's strength, it was still very terrifying. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon worked together to kill all of the demon beasts conjured by the demon chi. Buzz roar. After the demonic chi shattered, it did not disappear. Instead, it quickly gathered together to form a huge monster. It was 300 meters tall, and its entire body was pitch black, emitting a terrifying demonic aura. The demonic chi condensed into a gigantic bull demon king. It was indomitable and possessed boundless strength. He held a huge black axe in his hand and swung it down. With a chop of the axe, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The earth split apart. Lin Xian felt as if his body was about to explode. He roared, and the great dragon's sword soul in his body roared rapidly, suppressing the churning blood. At the same time, he tapped his foot and quickly retreated. Wong. The ancient dragon abyss sword swung out, bringing with it the power of Mount Tai, smashing over. When it collided with the huge black axe, countless sparks flew and pierced through the void. Lin Xian was forced to retreat a few steps. The black demon bull roared into the sky. What terrifying strength! Lin Xian was shocked. He had to admit that he was surprised that his opponent could force him to retreat. Although he was being suppressed, his power wasn't something that ordinary almighties could withstand. However, the black demon bull demon king was unharmed. In fact, it even had the upper hand. It seemed that it had surpassed an ordinary almighty. Lin Xian was in danger. On the other side, the Crimson Dragon was also roaring, because on his side, there were also 8 or 9 black shadows. Each of them turned into a black python and attacked him quickly. Under normal circumstances, the Crimson Dragon would not be afraid of these at all. But now, his cultivation strength was also suppressed. So now, he was also locked in a fierce battle. Damn it, get lost quickly. Otherwise, Ben Huang will use the Sage's Fragment. The Crimson Dragon roared. When had he been bullied by a few pythons? However, at this moment, Lin Xian said, Ruzalong, don't use the Sage's Fragment. Use your own strength to attack. This was a good opportunity to hone your battle skills. Damn, kid, are you crazy? Why do I feel that you're more battle-hungry than those lunatics from the war tribe? The Crimson Dragon's mouth twitched. Lin Xian was very excited. He held his sword and attacked again. At this moment, he repeatedly used the ninefold Thunder Sword and the heaven-battling Divine Fist. Even his feet were no longer the demigods and semi-devils, but the chaotic yin-yang inverse steps. That was because it was best to practice these heaven-class techniques in actual combat. As expected, although Lin Xian was at a disadvantage and was even sent flying a few times, but he was getting more and more familiar with the 3 heaven-class techniques. Not only that, Lin Xian also used the chaotic heaven destroyer sword and the 5 elements sword technique. He wanted to see if he could comprehend something new from these 2 sword techniques. Just like that, Lin Xian used his ultimate techniques one by one to hone them in battle. In the end, the giant bull demon was killed by him. With a wail, the bull demon fell to the ground and turned into demonic chi, rolling away. On the other side, the 8 pythons were all torn in half by the Crimson Dragon. Kid, let's go quickly. Otherwise, the demonic chi will continue to transform. It's endless. The Crimson Dragon quickly flew over and nodded. Lin Xian nodded. He wanted to see what was ahead. Therefore, the 2 of them tapped their feet and quickly flew forward. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After crossing a mountain, they arrived at a valley. Suddenly, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon retreated. Their pupils shrank as they smashed through the void. Lin Xian was even more shocked. The great dragon's sword soul in his body kept roaring. What a powerful sword intent! He was too shocked, because just as they crossed the mountain and before they reached the valley, a peerless sword intent that could tear the world apart rushed out from the valley. It was as if it wanted to split them in half. What a terrifying sword intent! Lin Xian's eyes shone with a golden light. He activated the heavenly secret god eye and looked ahead. Stone swords were stabbed into the ground in the valley in front of them, and each of them was embedded in the ground. Some of them only revealed the hilt, while others revealed a section of the sword. There were thousands of them densely packed together, and in the middle of these stone swords, there were many figures walking back and forth. They were wearing different clothes, but without exception, their eyes were hollow, and they carried a huge stone sword on their back. They were like patrolling guards, constantly walking in the valley. There's someone? How can there be anyone? Seeing this scene, Lin Xian was shocked. He looked at the Crimson Dragon. The Crimson Dragon's eyes also flickered. He thought for a while, then clapped his dragon claws and said, "I know, these should be the legendary sword slaves." Sword slaves? What's that? Lin Xian was confused. The Crimson Dragon said, "Do you think we're the only ones who want to come here?" The Black Demon Cliff was very famous. Not only the Central Continent knew about it, but all the 5 continents of the true spirit world knew about it. The one who died here was the 9 Sun Sword Saint. Chapter 2604. The 9 Sun Sword Saint had the 9 sun body and cultivated the 9 sun sword technique. It could be said that these 2 things were enough to make people jealous. If one could obtain the inheritance of the 9 Sun Sword Saint, they would definitely become a saint. They might even become the second 9 Sun Sword Saint. Therefore, for tens of thousands of years, countless people had come here in search of opportunities to obtain the inheritance of the 9 Sun Sword Saint. Among them, there was no lack of powerful peerless swordsmen and invincible kings. But in the end, without exception, none of them came out. In the end, an extremely terrifying living fossil with a terrifying saint's weapon figured it out. It turned out that the powerful people who had entered before were all controlled by the 9 Sun Sword Saints' sword intent and turned into sword slaves. They were enslaved by the Sword Council for generations to protect the entire Black Demon Cliff. What? Sword intent can control people? Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. The 9 Sun Sword Saint was too terrifying. However, what were the 9 Sun Sword Technique and the 9 Sun Divine Body? Lin Xian was very surprised. The 9 Yang Sword Technique was an extremely terrifying sword technique. It was extremely masculine and extremely terrifying. The 9 Sun Divine Body was a body-tempering technique. It was rumored that after cultivating this physique, it would not be weaker than the Yi family's saint physique. More importantly, cultivating the 9 Yang Divine Body did not require the power of a bloodline. This greatly encouraged those who did not have bloodline power. However, these 2 divine abilities and cultivation methods had been lost for a long time. It was said that they were hidden in Black Demon Cliff. However, no one could take them out. After hearing the whole news, Lin Xian was stunned. His eyes burned with passion. The 9 Sun Divine Body that was comparable to a saint physique and the unparalleled 9 Sun Sword Technique. Both of these things were very tempting to him. If he could obtain them, Lin Xian was excited. However, the Crimson Dragon beside him said, "Kid, I advise you not to think about it. Even invincible kings can't come out, let alone you. Although you have the great dragon sword soul and the heavenly secret divine eyes, your current cultivation is still too weak. If you really want to go, wait until you become an invincible king and bring the saint's treasure. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have been able to get out." Lin Xian's expression was grave. Indeed, the Crimson Dragon was right. The terror of a saint was far beyond his imagination. Therefore, he was only thinking about the 2 earth-shattering treasures. However, he could go in and investigate the valley below. He also wanted to see how powerful a sword slave controlled by the 9 Yang sword intent was. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon activated their defenses and walked down. As they approached the valley, they felt immense pressure. However, the 2 of them could still bear it. From the moment they stepped foot into the gorge, all the sword servants in the ancient times stopped moving and turned around. Wisps of terrifying sword light appeared in his originally empty eyes. Roar! The sword slaves roared furiously as they charged towards Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. Terrifying sword chi surged from their bodies. It was abnormally sharp, causing people to tremble. Before he could even get close, the surrounding space had already shattered. Fortunately, there were no invincible king-level sword servants in this valley. Otherwise, Bin Huang would have fled long ago. The Crimson Dragon scanned around and found that most of these sword servants had the cultivation of almighties. There were quite a few almighties. However, there weren't any invincible kings. This made him secretly heave a sigh of relief. Even if an invincible king had become a sword servant, the two of them probably wouldn't be able to fight against them for the time being. Even these sword servants in front of them were a headache for them. On the other hand, Lin Xian was very excited. He waved the ancient dragon abyss sword and once again used the ninefold thunder, the five-form sword, and the chaotic heaven destroyer sword. All kinds of sword techniques surged out and clashed with the sword servants. Boom, boom. All kinds of sword techniques flew in the sky. It was very dazzling. If someone was here, their jaws would definitely drop. Because whether it was Lin Xian or the sword servants, the sword techniques used were too terrifying. So terrifying. The power of the purest yang could pierce through everything. This was the Nine Suns sword intent. Lin Xian was shocked. It was just a wisp of sword intent, but it could erupt with such power. If it was the real Nine Suns sword technique, how terrifying would it be? He didn't know, but he was very excited. However, his great dragon sword soul was even more powerful. Its attack power was number 1, and it wasn't just for show. Although Lin Xian couldn't unleash the full power of the great dragon sword soul now, just its current power was already very heaven-defying. Therefore, for a moment, he fought with the 6 sword servants with ease. F***CK. What a pervert! The 1-pound Crimson Dragon grimaced. He didn't have any superb sword techniques, but he had the Dragon Clan's divine ability. Therefore, he also had a lot of fun fighting with those sword servants. 1 day passed, 2 days passed, 10 days passed. For 10 whole days, Lin Xian had been fighting. He had the longevity secret, so his spiritual energy storage was more than others. Moreover, he absorbed it very quickly. Even if the surrounding spiritual energy couldn't fill it, he still had many heavenly treasures and divine crystals in his hands for him to absorb. Lin Xian wasn't stingy at all now. He used these resources recklessly. These resources were originally for him to cultivate. Now that there were so many sword servants to practice with him, how could he give up this opportunity? His ninefold thunder sword technique was improving at an extremely fast speed. 3 months later, with a boom, Lin Xian's body flashed with lightning. The ninefold thunder sword technique entered the 2nd level. Buzz. The power of his sword technique increased exponentially. The bolts of lightning sword chi were even more violent than before. They instantly blasted the 6 sword servants around him away. This is great. He broke through. Lin Xian was overjoyed. These 3 months were indeed not in vain. The Crimson Dragon at the side rolled his eyes. In the past 3 months, he had already rested 3 times. He wasn't as desperate as Lin Xian. Lin Xian hadn't rested once in the past 3 months. However, the dark red divine dragon was also surprised by the other party's improvement. The ninefold lightning sword was a heaven-class technique. Although it was only at the early stage of the heaven-class technique, it was still very difficult to cultivate in addition to its power. However, in just 3 months, Lin Xian had cultivated to the 2nd level. The Crimson Dragon had never seen such talent before. He was probably on par with those freaks from ancient times. Even without the great dragon sword soul, with this kid's talent, he would probably be a peerless swordsman. The Crimson Dragon's eyes flickered. This kid might really be able to embark on the path of a great emperor. It was just that he didn't know how far he could go in the end. The path of a great emperor was too difficult. Even with the great dragon sword soul, he didn't dare to be 100% sure that he could become a great emperor. After all, the great dragon sword soul had been passed down to Lin Xian for almost 5 or 6 generations. However, the Crimson Dragon only knew of great Emperor Shiman, who had become a great emperor with the great dragon sword soul. Other than that, he didn't know anything. Chapter 2605. Of course, the true spirit world was vast and mysterious. Although the dragon sword soul was powerful, there were some things that were not weaker than the dragon sword soul. For example, the most powerful bloodline, the various constitutions, or other divine swords. In short, the Battle of the Emperor's Road was a very cruel thing. On the other hand, Lin Xian put away his longsword and slowly exhaled. In the past 3 months, not only had he reached the second stage of the ninefold thunder sword, but he had also become more proficient in the chaotic yin-yang steps. Lin Xian also had a certain understanding of how terrifying the nine-yang sword intent was. He decided to retreat from the valley and rest for a while. After all, even someone as strong as him could not withstand 3 months of continuous battles. However, just as he was about to retreat, another figure walked out in front of him. It was also a young man wearing an ancient robe. He seemed to be from the ancient times. Moreover, he was also a sword slave. However, the sword intent on his body was much stronger than that of ordinary sword slaves. In fact, he was almost an invincible king. This person was terrifying. In the ancient times, he must have been a peerless genius. Lin Xian was shocked because the other party looked very young, but his cultivation was so strong that it surprised him. Such a person was reduced to a sword slave. He gasped. He did not know what these people had encountered. If he encountered them, would he also be reduced to a sword slave? He did not know. The Crimson Dragon also jumped up and said, "Kid, be careful. The sword slave in front of you is not simple." Yes, Lin Xian nodded. He could also see it. As soon as the young sword slave appeared, the other sword slaves around him retreated as if they were afraid. This was something that had never happened before. The young sword slave pulled out a black long sword from his waist and pointed it forward. The sword intent on his body suddenly burst out and pierced the surrounding sky. Then, he turned into a shadow and charged toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He used the chaotic yin-yang steps and quickly dodged. As soon as he left, 18 sword marks appeared where he was originally standing and cut the ground into pieces. Buzz. Seeing that his first attack had failed, the young sword slave made another move. The long sword swept out, bringing with it a blazing aura as it slashed over. It was like a sun, flying quickly in the sky. What is this? The power of the nine-yang sword intent. This guy was actually able to use the power of sword intent. The Crimson Dragon exclaimed, while Lin Xian's face darkened. As expected, this young sword slave wasn't ordinary. His body swayed in the air as he dodged the sword. At the same time, he quickly rushed over and used the ninefold thunder sword. Streaks of lightning sword chi flashed in the sky. Coupled with the power of the great dragon sword soul, the sky was instantly torn apart. 7 bolts of lightning sword chi formed a lotus in the sky and enveloped the young sword slave. Then, the lightning sword chi exploded, wanting to penetrate the other party. Buzz, the young sword slave, raised his sword high, and a bright light burst out from it. With a slash of the sword, the thunder lotus was shattered. Then, he strode out. At this moment, his eyes were sharp and his black hair was fluttering in the wind. It was as if he had come alive. The black sword in his hand swept out with the force of Mount Tai. Boom! The space where Lin Xian was exploded, and countless sword chi enveloped him. Damn, this sword slave is so powerful. The Crimson Dragon swallowed his saliva as he watched. This sword slave was much more powerful and terrifying than the average saint. He had even reached the level of a top-notch saint. Damn it, could it be that he was a saint in ancient times? Lin Xian and the young sword slave fought until the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The entire valley was shaking. Even the sky in front of them couldn't be seen. Only the bright sword chi shot into the sky. There was also a sea of lightning in the sky. Buzz. Boom. Finally, Lin Xian changed his sword technique again. He no longer used the ninefold thunder sword, but the 5-element sword, chaos sword, and sky destroyer sword. All kinds of killing moves were used, and the great dragon sword soul kept roaring. Dragon shadows rushed out one after another. Boom. Boom, boom. The young sword slave was sent flying and landed on the ground, creating a deep crater. Lin Xian descended from the sky. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and he was unstoppable like a sword god. He looked forward with a smile on his face. His opponent was very powerful, but he was still no match for him. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, the entire valley trembled. The ground cracked, and a huge stone sword pierced through the ground. It continued to spread, and the entire ground within a radius of tens of thousands of miles seemed to be torn apart by a pair of large hands. Seeing this, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon flew into the sky. They looked at the shocking changes in front of them, and their expressions were extremely solemn. What happened? Could it be that something even more terrifying was coming out? Damn it! Could it be a sword slave at the level of an invincible king? If that was the case, the two of them wouldn't be able to defeat it. The two of them circulated their energy. As long as the situation wasn't right, they would leave at any time. Buzz. At this moment, a hazy figure suddenly appeared under the huge stone sword and sat there cross-legged. The figure was extremely mysterious, with a peerless aura. There were even divine chains of order circling around him. Seeing this scene, the Crimson Dragon screamed. A sage. He was scared out of his wits. Lin Xian was also extremely shocked. The great dragon sword soul in his body was about to explode at any time. He looked forward intently. Was that a sage? It was too terrifying. He had seen the corpses of sages before, and there were two of them. However, although the corpses were terrifying, there were many invincible kings with heaven-defying weapons at that time. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't feel too much. But now, there was only him and the Crimson Dragon. Facing the light in front of him, he felt that it was too terrifying. In fact, he couldn't even breathe. Moreover, this was just a light shadow. It wasn't a sage. It should be an afterimage or a clone. Lin Xian took a deep breath. The Crimson Dragon said the same thing. Yes, it was just that he didn't know what it wanted to do. Kid, get ready to enter the Black Earth. The two of us can't withstand it. Lin Xian put away the ancient sword and respectfully bowed with cupped fists. Junior greets Senior. I have no intention of disturbing Senior. I just want to see the legendary 9 Sword Chi of Black Demon Cliff. If I disturb Senior, I will leave immediately. How many years has it been? Finally, someone came in. In front of them, the light slowly spoke. His voice was abnormally low and carried a supreme divine might. Every word made the blood in Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's bodies boil. Their bodies were about to split open. Fortunately, one of them had the great dragon sword soul, and the other was of the ancient dragon clan. Only then could they resist this pressure. I seemed to feel a familiar aura. The light in front of them spoke again. His eyes were like 2 divine lamps, enveloping Lin Xian. Chapter 2606. Lin Yunxuan's body tensed up, as if his body had been seen through. At this moment, he had no secrets in front of the other party. The power of the great dragon sword soul? No wonder it was so familiar. He didn't expect it to be the successor of the great dragon sword soul. Lin Xian was extremely shocked when he heard the glowing figure's words. He didn't expect that his biggest secret would be seen through by the other party. The Crimson Dragon was also very nervous. What did the other party want? Could it be that the other party wanted to snatch the great dragon sword soul? However, the other party was already dead, and had been dead for tens of thousands of years. What was the point of snatching the great dragon sword soul? Don't be nervous. I'm just a broken clone imprint. Young man, since you can come here and see me, it means that you are fated. Now, I will teach you the cultivation method of the Divine 9 Yang body. What? The cultivation method of the Divine 9 Yang body? Hearing this, Lin Xian was shocked. He felt that his heart was about to jump out. Senior, is this true? The Crimson Dragon beside him was also drooling. Damn, this kid's luck is too heaven-defying. He actually encountered the cultivation method of the Divine 9 Yang body. If he succeeded, it would not lose to the Divine 9 Yang body. In the future, this kid's physique would be so strong that it defies the heavens. This is indeed the cultivation method of the Divine 9 Yang body. However, I only have the first 3 levels. The first 3 levels. Hearing this, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were stunned. However, the 3rd level was fine too. Lin Xian was not dissatisfied. Okay. The 9 Yang Sword Saints clone imprint nodded. Then, His body shone brightly, completely enveloping Lin Xian. It was as if a sun had exploded between heaven and earth, so bright that the crimson dragon could not open his eyes. The light disappeared as quickly as it came. Soon, it was suppressed in Black Demon Cliff. Therefore, the people outside Black Demon Cliff could not see or know what was going on here. While Lin Xian was receiving the first 3 levels of the 9 Young Divine Bodies inheritance, the outside world was in chaos. The 2 Battle Kings of the Battle Tribe joined forces and rushed to the place where the Sky Axe Battle King had perished. They scouted their surroundings, but discovered that Lin Xian had long since disappeared. Not only that, but they had also searched the area within a radius of several 100,000 miles. They didn't discover anything either. In the end, there was only one place left, and that was Black Demon Cliff. Impossible. It was absolutely impossible for that kid to enter Black Demon Cliff. Silver Battle King shook his head. On the other side, Galactic Battle King added, "Indeed, even invincible kings did not dare to enter the Black Demon Cliff. Even if that kid had eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts, he would not have the guts to enter the Black Demon Cliff. Let's look in other places." The 2 Battle Kings quickly left and started searching in the distance. At the same time, the members of the Yin-Yang sect launched an all-encompassing pursuit. Apart from the Yin-Yang sect, the 5 Elemental Palace, the 9 Heavens Sacred Ground, the 10,000 Lightning Sacred Ground, the Tai Royal Dynasty, and the other sacred grounds and sects whose saints Lin Xian had killed had joined hands and started a massacre. However, in the end, they would not succeed. Because now, Lin Xian was inside Black Demon Cliff. However, no matter how much these people calculated, they would never have considered this point. The joint pursuit of Lin Xian by several sacred grounds was only a small episode. The real shock was on the side of the Yuhua Immortal Robe. More and more experts were making their moves. Damn it, all of you, get lost. This belongs to the ancient sage of the monster race. An invincible king of the monster imperial palace roared crazily. His body emitted a terrifying power and turned into a black tiger. It was indomitable and extremely terrifying. Belongs to the monster race? Oomph, what a joke. It's clearly worn by a human ancient sage. An invincible king of the Dayan's sacred ground snorted coldly and slashed out with a giant sword in his hand. The Dayan sword technique flew out instantly. Get lost. A roar shook the 9 heavens. The terrifying black tiger emitted a terrifying sound wave that affected everything within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. The martial artists who were watching the battle from afar instantly vomited blood and were sent flying. In this battlefield, not only were there invincible kings and elders, but there were also some peerless powerhouses watching from afar. Because how could they miss such an exciting battle? They probably wouldn't see such a scene even once in thousands of years. These people wanted to see the peerless glory. However, they didn't expect that the strength of these people was beyond their imagination. Even though they had retreated so far, Roar still sent them flying. They were so frightened that they hurriedly retreated again, not daring to come forward again. A mere black tiger dares to be arrogant in front of me? The invincible king of the Dayan's sacred ground snorted coldly and waved his long sword again. The black tiger phantoms in the sky also roared and charged forward. In an instant, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The two collided with each other, emitting a sonorous sound. Boom, boom. A huge black hole appeared, swallowing heaven and earth in all directions. With a scream, one of the black tiger's claws was cut off. It was as if a mountain had fallen from the sky. It directly smashed the ground, and several tens of thousands of meters of cracks appeared. Roar! The invincible king of the monster imperial palace was furious. He rushed forward as if he had gone mad. However, the invincible king of the Dayan's sacred ground was indeed powerful. He waved his long sword, and a terrifying sword chi swept out, instantly piercing through the black tiger again. The black tiger roared and dimmed, as if it would disappear at any time. Seeing this, the invincible king of the monster imperial palace's expression changed drastically. He didn't dare to fight anymore and quickly retreated. Humph! Seeing his opponent retreat, The invincible king of the Dayan's sacred ground snorted coldly, and the aura on his body became even more piercing. Pung. However, in the next moment, he vomited blood and flew backward. This was because in the sky, a blood-colored figure flew out, and a ray of light turned into a blood river that was tens of thousands of meters long, rushing directly toward him. The Dayan's sword formation instantly shattered, and the invincible king of the Dayan's sacred ground vomited blood and flew backward. Damn it! It's that blood-colored corpse. Seeing this, the invincible kings of the other sacred grounds also had gloomy expressions. That blood-colored corpse was too terrifying. It should also be a saint. However, these two saints were both corpses. They probably couldn't even use 1,000th of their strength. That was why they could fight against them now. If it was a living saint, even if all of them joined forces, they probably wouldn't be able to block a single move from the other party. So now, taking advantage of the fact that the two saints were weak was their best opportunity. Everyone, let's attack together. Let's seal these two saints' corpses first, and then we'll distribute the Yuhua Immortal Clothing Stone. An invincible king of the Yi family stood out. His golden chi and blood surged into the sky like a god of war, shining in all directions. The invincible kings of the other sacred grounds and great sects also nodded. On the Immortal Palace's side, the 6 protectors also had solemn expressions. Indeed, compared to the battle between them, fighting against the corpses of the two saints was more important. Roar! The blood-colored corpse of the saint roared angrily, and the light on its body surged into the sky. The blood-colored light turned into countless blood-colored underworld rivers that swept toward everyone. Chapter 2607. The eyes of the human saint, wearing the Yuhua immortal robe, emitted a piercing cold light. He turned into a sword chi and descended from the sky. Everyone, go all out. Don't hold back anymore. Otherwise, we will all die. The invincible king of the Yi family roared, and a saint's afterimage appeared above his head. His bloodline power was instantly activated, and a majestic power erupted. 6 paths of reincarnation fist. The invincible king of the Yi family attacked crazily, and his golden fist exploded the world. This was an extremely terrifying fist technique. It carried an indomitable aura, as if it could split heaven and earth apart, and it resisted the blood-colored Styx River. Tao gave birth to 1, 1 gave birth to 2, 2 gave birth to 3, and 3 gave birth to all things. The invincible king of the Tao-Yi Holy Land made his move. Resplendent light illuminated the sky. It was like a star in the darkness. With a supreme light, it slashed forward. Seeing this divine ability, the invincible kings of the other holy lands also changed their expressions. One had to admit that the divine ability of the Tao-Yi Holy Land was too terrifying. However, they weren't bad either. These invincible kings all held the saints' fragments in their hands, and there was more than one of them. They were also wearing top-tier Heaven Stage battle armor. There were even some who were wearing the saints' broken battle armor. In short, at this moment, the power they displayed, coupled with the saints' fragments, far exceeded that of the invincible kings. The terrifying aura of chaos, the terrifying power of the 5 elements, and yin and yang chi circulated in the sky. Rays of resplendent light swept across heaven and earth. On the Immortal Palace's side, the 6 great protectors also made their move. Each of them displayed a great divine ability. Especially the great protector, he was even more mighty and extraordinary. A red spear seemed to be flowing with divine blood. With a stab of the spear, it shattered the void one after another. Boom, boom. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Ghosts wailed and wolves howled. Large cracks appeared in the sky one after another, shocking the peerless warriors who were watching the battle from afar. Was this the attack of an invincible king? It was too terrifying. It was a pity that they couldn't see a real saint attack. The power that these corpses could display was too limited. Are you crazy? If a real saint attacked, would we still be alive? The others shook their heads. That was indeed the case. If a real saint attacked, no one would be able to escape. None of these invincible kings would be able to escape. However, being able to see such a shocking battle made their trip worthwhile. Roar! The blood-red corpse roared in anger. He had gone mad. Lines of blood-red lines appeared on his body. Blood-colored divine chains of laws danced around him. A pair of blood-red wings even appeared on his back. They were tens of thousands of miles long, and with a gentle flap, the void shattered. At this moment, not only was he attacking these invincible kings, but he was also attacking the saint's corpse. It seemed like he wanted to snatch the Yuhua immortal robe. The saint of the human race sat in the purple light screen, wearing the Yuhua immortal robe. Her beautiful face was expressionless. Light flashed from her beautiful eyes, blocking all the attacks. At the same time, divine chains of laws appeared beside him, bringing with them supreme power. Not good. Upon seeing these chains, the invincible kings' faces fell, and they pushed the power of their saint fragments to the limit to defend themselves. It couldn't be helped. Although the two sages were corpses, the law divine chains still contained the law of heaven and earth. It was simply impossible for them to contend against it by themselves. Sure enough, when the law divine chains of the two sages collided, the void within a radius of millions of miles was directly shattered. The sky was cut open, and the earth was sinking. Not a single place was intact. Many of the peerless powerhouses who were watching the battle from afar were instantly killed. The rest of the people also ran away like they had gone mad. At this moment, they no longer dared to approach. They retreated tens of millions of miles away, using secret techniques to watch the battle. Buzz. The blood-red demon overlord's corpse flapped its huge blood-red wings, blocking the attacks of all the invincible kings. He roared and charged towards the ancient saint of the human race. Boom! The ancient saint of the human race slowly raised his palm and gently pressed forward. Boom! An earth-shattering sound was heard, and those invincible kings also fled madly. Several invincible kings of the Gu family joined forces to use the Great Void technique to envelop these people. Only then did they escape this calamity. They were exiled in the void. Looking back at the original space through a secret technique, they saw that the millions of miles of space they were in instantly shattered, turning into a huge black hole. It was too terrifying. Was this the attack of a saint? It was just a casual attack, but it had caused such a terrifying scene. Humph! An invincible king of the wavering light, sacred ground snorted coldly. The dragon pattern cauldron above his head flickered. This dragon pattern cauldron was many times stronger than the wavering light saint's dragon pattern cauldron. It could be said that it was a very terrifying forbidden Dharma artifact. It had already surpassed the heaven realm. Boom! He waved the dragon pattern cauldron and hit the void. The dragon pattern cauldron flew out and enlarged in the sky like a mountain, charging towards the blood-red demon overlord. Boom! The replica dragon pattern cauldron landed on the blood-red demon overlord's corpse, emitting countless rays of blood-red light. However, it did not cause any harm to the corpse. The blood-red demon overlord's corpse was enraged. His eyes turned into two divine spears, piercing through the void. Not good. The invincible kings of the Gu family changed their expressions and hurriedly moved away. However, they were still one step too late. With an earth-shattering sound, the Great Void technique was broken, and all the invincible kings returned to their original world from the void. They even vomited blood. Two unlucky invincible kings were directly pierced through and nailed to death in the void, unable to come back to life. Seeing this, the invincible king's expressions were extremely ugly. It was too terrifying. They realized that even if they had the saint's fragment, they would not be able to defeat these people, unless they used a real saint's weapon. A saint's weapon? In the sky, an invincible king surrounded by a black and white aura had a serious expression. In the next moment, a cold light appeared in his eyes. Boom! The void above his head cracked open, and an ancient black and white mirror appeared in the void. The ancient mirror was only the size of a palm, and it was engraved with runes. As soon as it appeared, it crushed the void. A terrifying saint's aura spread out from it, sweeping in all directions. At this moment, all the invincible kings trembled as they looked into the distance. The yin-yang mirror. It was an intact yin-yang mirror. Heavens, this is a saint weapon. Damn it, The Yin-Yang sect actually brought a saint weapon. Exclamations sounded. The Invincible Kings were extremely shocked. They did not expect the Yin-Yang sect to bring an intact saint weapon. An intact saint weapon and a fragment of a saint weapon seemed similar, but there was a world of difference. It was like a saint's corpse and a living saint. Chapter 2608. The power of a saint's fragment was probably less than 1,000th of an undamaged saint's weapon. If an invincible king had enough power and could revive a saint's weapon, he would definitely be able to defeat everyone. Other than a true saint, perhaps an undamaged saint's weapon would be able to fight against it. The others would not be able to do anything. As expected, as soon as the undamaged yin-yang mirror appeared, a terrifying aura exploded. In the distance, the two saints' corpses stopped fighting. They quickly retreated and looked ahead in bewilderment. At this moment, the two saints' corpses also had serious expressions. They did not expect that there would be an undamaged saint's weapon among these humans. Roar! Suddenly, the blood-colored beast Overlord's corpse let out an excited roar. His blood was boiling. A huge hand that blotted out the sky and covered the earth came grabbing over. It seemed like he wanted to take the yin-yang mirror. Oh no, don't let him succeed. The Invincible Kings were shocked. If the yin-yang mirror was taken away, it would be troublesome. A saint's corpse and an undamaged saint's weapon. No one would be able to do anything. The Invincible King born from yin-yang snorted coldly. You want to take my yin-yang mirror? Go to hell for me. The black and white chi on it quickly turned into a black and white seal that pressed down from the sky. Boom, boom, boom. The two collided, and the sky collapsed. It was terrifying. The other Invincible Kings exclaimed. It blocked it. It blocked it. As expected, an Invincible King with an undamaged saint's weapon could fight against a saint's corpse. Roar! The blood-colored beast Overlord's corpse roared, and the human saint's corpse's eyes flickered. On the other side, the Invincible King from the Yin-Yang sect was also not having a good time. His face was extremely pale. Obviously, using an undamaged saint's weapon had consumed too much of his energy. Unfortunately, he was not a true saint. No matter how strong an Invincible King was, he could not fully unleash the power of a saint's weapon. If that attack had been launched by a saint, the beast Overlord's corpse would have been defeated long ago. It was too difficult to become a saint in this era. However, it was not easy for a saint's weapon to appear. Even if it was difficult to defeat it, it would not be a problem to fight against it. Moreover, the Yin-Yang sect was not the only one with an undamaged saint's weapon. The other clans and sacred grounds probably had one as well. It's just that they had not used it yet. Many Invincible Kings were secretly communicating with each other. The Invincible King of the Yin-Yang sect roared, "Come and help me." Another 3 invincible emperors of the Yin-Yang sect showed up. They infused their yin and yang chi into the yin-yang mirror above them. For such a terrifying saint weapon, the power of one Invincible King was not enough. Only with 4 Invincible Kings working together would they be able to provide enough energy. Of course, this was only temporary. If the battle went on for too long, even 4 Invincible Kings wouldn't be enough. The Invincible Kings of the Yi family exchanged glances and joined hands to produce a bronze cauldron. As soon as the bronze cauldron appeared, its terrifying aura made many Invincible Kings almost kneel on the ground. Could this be the celestial Arch Cauldron? Everyone was shocked, and the others also began to scream. The celestial Thearchus cauldron was no joke. That was an extreme weapon. Everyone's eyelids twitched. The Yi clan had produced a great emperor who was known as Emperor Yi. The weapon he used back then was a bronze cauldron, which was also an extreme weapon. It was passed down in the Yi clan. Therefore, the Yi clan became one of the most terrifying clans in the world. With an extreme weapon, no one dared to attack them. Impossible. It definitely couldn't be an extreme weapon. These Invincible Kings couldn't unleash the power of an extreme weapon at all. It was useless even if they had it. This should be a replica of an extreme weapon. Indeed, any clan or sacred ground that had an extreme weapon would create many replicas. Looking at the power of this replica, it was at least at the level of a saint weapon. Although it wasn't a true extreme weapon, it was still extremely terrifying among the saint weapons. Everyone was discussing. As expected, the bronze cauldron's aura was too terrifying. It even carried a desolate force. Buzz, a sharp aura emerged and tore apart the firmament. In the sky, a golden sword shone brightly with the shadow of a golden dragon on it. The Great Xia dynasty had made their move. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect the Great Xia dynasty to also bring a saint weapon, the golden sword. Let's make our move too. In the immortal palace, the great guardian took a deep breath. The 5 great guardians behind him also nodded solemnly. In the next moment, the majestic power on their bodies formed a terrifying seal above their heads. Thousands of auras hung down. What is this? It's so terrifying. Heaven, it was another saint's weapon. An undamaged saint's weapon? These invincible kings exclaimed. Not every sacred ground or sect had brought a saint's weapon that was in perfect condition. Therefore, at this moment, when they sensed the new saint weapon, they all turned their heads to look. It's them. It's the group from the immortal palace. They didn't expect their foundation to be so deep that they actually had an intact saint weapon. What is this saint weapon? I've never seen it before. Is it a huge seal? Could it be the legendary sky-flipping seal? It's not the sky-flipping seal. It should be something we haven't seen before. The immortal palace was too mysterious. In an instant, countless invincible kings were discussing. Even the Yin-Yang sect, the Yi family, the Gu family, and the Great Xia dynasty turned their heads to look. Boom. The people from the Wavering Light Sacred Ground also made their move. They took out a black war chariot that was extraordinary. It was also a saint weapon. Then, the invincible king from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground also took out a glass armor and put it on. It was an intact saint armor. Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed and envied. Wearing this armor would definitely be able to withstand the attack of the saint's corpse. It could be said that they were already in an invincible position. Many sacred grounds and great sects took out intact saint weapons. Those invincible kings who didn't bring undamaged saint weapons were filled with regret, so much so that their intestines turned green. Damn it, if they knew this would happen, they would have brought it too. But now, regret was useless. They hurriedly activated the spatial array and directly sent a message. They asked the powerhouses of their sacred grounds to hurry over with intact saint weapons. Perhaps there was a chance to reverse the situation. If they were late, they might not have a chance. Attack. The Immortal Palace, the Yi family, the Gu family, the Great Xia dynasty, the Wavering Light Sacred Ground, and the Wavering Light Sacred Ground all made their moves. In an instant, the sky fell and the earth cracked. The 2 saint corpses also roared angrily, and the order laws on their bodies danced in the sky. They fought against it. A great battle broke out, and it was extremely intense. At this moment, only the invincible kings with saint weapons participated in the exhibition. The rest fled tens of millions of miles away like crazy. Chapter 2609. Although they were invincible kings, they were at the pinnacle of existence in the era where there were no saints. But now, they were not strong enough. That casual strike could probably kill them all. This battle was truly too terrifying. Everything within a radius of tens of millions of miles was shattered, and the aftershocks of the energy continued to spread. Fortunately, the place where they came from was still a barren land. Otherwise, even the 9 dynasties would not be able to withstand this kind of destruction. Several sacred lands and major sects carried intact sacred weapons to fight against the corpses of the 2 saints. However, the corpses of the 2 saints were too strange. Although they were corpses, they seemed to be able to revive bit by bit. Therefore, their strength was getting stronger and stronger. Now, even with so many sacred weapons, they could not suppress the 2. This shocked all the invincible kings. If they delayed any longer, they would probably be suppressed by the other party. No, these people frantically absorbed the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, swallowing heavenly treasures, and poured their energy into the sacred weapons. Beams of energy burst out, and bright light shot into the sky, trying to destroy the entire world. It was too terrifying. The invincible kings in the distance trembled, and the peerless almighties directly knelt on the ground, trembling, and could not stand up at all. Buzz. At this moment, the sky cracked open, and another sacred weapon rushed over, shattering the world. A sacred weapon, and it was a sacred weapon brought by the spark stone. Heavens, which sacred ground was this? The Buddhist sect was the Buddhist sacred ground of the Western Desert. After seeing the light and the figure, everyone was shocked. It was an old monk wearing a kasaya, and his face was old. He held a purple demon subduing pestle in his hand, and it exuded a supreme divine power. Boom! A river of stars descended from the sky, covering the entire sky as if it was going to replace the world. Taishian's sacred ground. They did not expect Taishian's sacred ground to come as well. Another wave of exclamations sounded. They found that more and more invincible kings were participating with sacred weapons. There were already 8 or 9 of them. Ha 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 ha. They did not expect such an exciting battle to be here. And so many sacred weapons. Then, I won't hold back. At this moment, a cold voice sounded, resounding through the world. Hearing this, all the invincible kings felt their scalps go numb. Who was it that dared to covet a saint's weapon? Everyone was about to go crazy. There was actually someone who didn't know the meaning of death and dared to have designs on a saint's weapon? Who was this? Did he not want to live anymore? Those invincible kings were extremely shocked. One had to know that they were all eyeing the Yuhua immortal robe. No one dared to eye the saint weapon. Firstly, each of them had a saint's weapon. Secondly, these saints' weapons were precious treasures of the various holy lands. If they were lost, those holy lands would definitely go crazy and hunt them down. Besides, do you think it's so easy to rob a saint's weapon? If he wasn't careful, he might be killed instead. Therefore, these invincible kings felt their scalps go numb when they heard these words. Those with saint weapons even snorted coldly. Who is it? Come out. The invincible kings of the Yin-Yang sacred land looked in all directions. The Yin-Yang Qi transformed into 2 Yin-Yang blades that tore through space and time. Pong! An earth-shattering sound rang out, and the symbol laws that filled the sky scattered in all directions. A fist of light collided with the Yin-Yang twin blades. Then, the 2 disappeared from the world at the same time. What? He blocked it. He actually blocked it. He blocked the saint's weapon with a single punch? Heavens! Who is this? Could it be that a real saint has come out? Everyone was stunned. The other invincible kings with saint weapons looked even more solemn. The invincible kings of the Yin-Yang sect also narrowed their eyes, and their expressions became extremely ugly. Someone could actually block their saint weapons with their bare hands. Who was it? A shocking aura tore through the void, and then a figure walked out. It was an old man with white hair. His Taoist robe fluttered, and his eyes carried a trace of the power of laws. Damn it, a saint. He really is a saint. Many people were terrified. However, some people frowned. No, this aura doesn't seem right. If he's a real saint, he can probably kill us with a single look. His aura seems to be even weaker than the saint's corpse. Could it be that he's a half-step saint? Some people guessed, and others also came to a realization. A half-step saint was a powerhouse who had surpassed the invincible kings, but had not completely entered the saint realm. It could be said that he had already taken a step in. It was only a matter of time before he became a saint. They didn't expect that a half-step saint would appear at this time. Which sacred ground's half-step saint was he from? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They realized that they didn't know him. Could it be that he was a wandering half-step saint? If that was the case, they would probably be in trouble. The other party would probably have no scruples. What if he really stole a saint weapon and went into seclusion? He would wait for 1,000 years and become a saint before coming out. Perhaps even the sacred ground's major sects would have a headache. Therefore, the other party really had the qualifications and possibility to steal a saint weapon. So, he's just a half-step saint. A mere half-step saint wants to steal our saint weapon? Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? In Immortal Palace, the Great Protector held a blood-red spear and looked forward disdainfully. A Chinkuan seal was floating above their heads. How dare you look down on me? The half-step saint snorted coldly. If you don't have a saint weapon, you can't even block a look from me. What right do you have to look down on me? The half-step saint's aura was extremely powerful. Immortal Palace's great protector snorted coldly. There were no ifs in this world. Even if I have a saint weapon, what can you do to me? At this point, the 6 great protectors attacked together. Above their heads, the Chinquin seal emitted an incomparable light. Then, it directly pressed down. It was as if a sun had descended from the sky, releasing tens of thousands of rays of light, completely enveloping the half-step saint. Get lost. The half-step saint roared, and his palm blasted out like a giant dragon. However, this time, he was forced back, and even his entire arm was numb. The Chinquin seal emitted countless runes, enveloping the world. You're just SOSO, yet you want to steal a saint weapon? You're really courting death. The great protector's voice was cold. The other invincible kings were extremely shocked. This immortal palace was too powerful. It could actually force a half-step saint to retreat. The invincible kings of the Yi family, Gu family, and Great Xia dynasty all snorted coldly. Waves of murderous aura spread out. Damn it! The half-step saint roared angrily and quickly retreated. He could still fight against one saint weapon, but he couldn't fight against so many saint weapons. However, it was impossible for these people to hurt him. He temporarily retreated into the distance, hiding in the void, ready to attack at any time. Chapter 26:10. As long as he could snatch a sacred weapon, he would immediately escape. He would not appear again until he reached the Saint Realm. Once he reached the Saint Realm and had a sacred weapon, no one in the world would be his match. Even those sacred grounds and sects would not be able to do anything to him. After all, it was too difficult to kill a saint. Damn it! If this guy was not eliminated, he would always be a threat. The Great Guardian's face was gloomy. He activated the Heaven and Earth seal, and thousands of rays of light shone down, completely enveloping them. Not only him, but the Yi family, Gu family, and Great Xia dynasty also activated their sacred weapons and enveloped them. This was to prevent a sneak attack from a half-saint. If there was one who was least worried, it would be the invincible king from the Jade Lake sacred ground. She was wearing armor, and the other party probably could not even break through her defense. In an instant, everyone was on guard against the sneak attack of a half-saint. At the same time, they once again charged towards the 2 saint corpses. The sky fell, and the earth cracked. It was very tragic. The battle had lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, and everyone did not have much energy left. After all, activating the sacred weapon consumed too much energy, and the 2 saint corpses were getting stronger and stronger. Fortunately, the 2 corpses were also fighting each other. Otherwise, if the 2 of them joined forces, the invincible kings would probably be in trouble. Whoosh! At this moment, the half-saint hiding in the dark made his move. He held a killing sword in his hand, and his entire person was like a god of death as he charged towards the Great Guardian and the others. With a swing of the sword, heaven and earth were split open, and even the laws of the saints appeared. Not good. The other great guardians of the immortal palace felt their scalps go numb when they felt this energy. The great guardian also suddenly turned his head and roared angrily. However, this time, the half-saint came prepared. After fighting for so long, the 6 great guardians did not have much energy left. Therefore, they did not dodge this attack. A terrifying murderous aura slashed on the light screen, and an earth-shattering sound was heard. It did not break, but the 6 great guardians were sent flying. Haha, the half-saint laughed. Today, I will let you see my power. Runes flashed on his body. Although they were not complete, the fragments of laws were far from what an invincible king could resist. As long as he could push them out of the range of the seal of heaven and earth, he would be able to kill them and seize the seal of heaven and earth. The other holy lands and sects didn't help because they didn't have the time to help others when the 2 saints' corpses showed their might. The invincible emperors in the distance were startled seeing this. It was over. This immortal palace was likely going to be in danger. It would be best if he was killed and even lost his saint weapon. That makes me even more satisfied. In the distance, the invincible kings of the myriad thunder, sacred land sneered. Their holy child was killed by the immortal palace's master. At this moment, they naturally hoped that the 6 protectors of a mortal palace would be killed. Only then would they be able to resolve the hatred in their hearts. Only then would they feel better. Although the others didn't have such a reason, they also thought that the 6 of them were doomed. After all, Half-Life had successfully launched a sneak attack, and the 6 Great Guardians' power had already been exhausted, so it was impossible for them to resist. The Half-Step Saint's aura suddenly surged. The blood sword in his hand seemed to have turned into a heavenly sword as he continued to attack. They fought until the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The ground trembled rapidly. The heaven and earth seal above even buzzed. Damn it, quickly counterattack. The Great Guardian roared angrily. His body shone brightly as he attacked together with the other 5 protectors. Buzz. They controlled the heaven and earth seal and attacked. Streaks of aura turned into peerless sword light that swept across the heavens and earth. Seeing this scene, the Half-Step Saint dodged. He wouldn't fight against a saint weapon. All he did was to launch sneak attacks and interfere. He knew that the protector's power had been exhausted. Stop struggling. You are already at the end of your rope. I think it will be very difficult for you to continue controlling the saint weapon. Hand over the saint weapon obediently, and I can spare your lives. Otherwise, all 6 of you will be killed. Humph. You want our saint weapon? You are dreaming. Do you really think that you can fight against us? The 6 protectors once again took out natural treasures and stuffed them into their mouths. They quickly swallowed them to recover their exhausted power. However, the Half-Step Saint sneered. The power of a saint weapon is definitely beyond your imagination. Its consumption is not something that invincible kings like you can bear. So, don't waste any more time. No matter how many natural treasures you swallow, it won't be enough. The Half-Step Saint kept forming hand seals. Fragments of laws circled around him. He also activated a secret technique that caused his power to increase explosively. Seeing this scene, the 6 protectors' faces darkened. Damn it. Now, the other sacred grounds were surrounded by the 2 corpses. It was very difficult for them to help them, and this Half-Step Saint in front of them dared to attack them? He was courting death. If he was in his peak condition, he felt that he could kill the other party to the point where there was nowhere to go. But now, just as the other party said, they had been fighting for 3 days and 3 nights. They had been controlling the saint weapon nonstop. This temporary increase couldn't make up for anything. However, it was impossible for the other party to snatch their heaven and earth seal just like that. At most, they would lose some of their source energy. They had to kill the other party. A crazed look appeared in the eyes of the 6 protectors. The strength of the Half-Step Saint opposite them had also increased to a terrifying level. He wasn't much weaker than the 2 saint corpses. Obviously, the other party had to pay a high price to activate a secret technique. Damn it, go to hell for me. The Half-Step Saint waved his blood-red sword and attacked again. He successfully suppressed the 6 protectors. He reached out his palm and completely enveloped the heaven and earth seal. The heaven and earth seal lowered its chi to resist. Stop struggling. Following me is better than following an invincible king. When I become a true saint, I will make my name known throughout the world. The Half-Step Saint quickly said to the saint weapon. These saint weapons all had spirituality. If he could successfully persuade them, then he would be able to take them away effortlessly. However, he was obviously overthinking it. Why would this saint weapon listen to him? The heaven and earth seal trembled violently and began to resist. The Half-Step Saint's face darkened. Since you don't know what's good for you, then I can only shatter your soul seal and brand my own. A crazed look appeared in the Half-Step Saint's eyes. He was about to attack and use a secret technique. Bang! However, at this moment, he screamed and flew backward. More than half of his body shattered and turned into a bloody mist. Seeing this scene, the Half-Step Saint screamed and tore through the void. He fled hundreds of thousands of miles away before stopping. He looked around in surprise. The other invincible kings also cried out in surprise. Damn it, what happened? A Half-Step Saint's body was shattered, and he was almost killed? Who made a move? Was it the Immortal Palace's saint weapon? Chapter 26:11. In the distance, The invincible kings who were fighting with the corpses of the two saints were also extremely shocked. They all separated a wisp of their soul to observe. In the next moment, everyone gasped in shock. It turned out that a palm had reached over from an extremely far distance. Wherever it passed, the world darkened, and the entire sky was completely enveloped. Hundreds of thousands of miles, millions of miles, and even tens of millions of miles were completely enveloped by the palm. Heavens, who is this? It's so terrifying. The half-step saint's body shone brightly, and his shattered body quickly healed. He gritted his teeth and looked at the sky. He looked at the huge hand that covered the sky. Then, he asked coldly, "Damn it, who is it? Get out here." He was too shocked that the other party could severely injure him in an instant. At first, he thought that it was a saint weapon that did it, but now it seemed that it was not. Damn it, could it be that a saint had made a move? He was extremely shocked. The others also thought of this possibility and held their breaths. The huge hand that covered the sky did not say anything. It only emitted an extremely terrifying energy. In his palm, strands of nomological divine chains flew out, turned into a divine rainbow, and flew toward the half-step saint below. Nomological divine chains. Complete nomological divine chains. Oh no, it's a saint. Seeing this scene, the half-step saint was scared out of his wits. He turned around and fled. Although he was powerful, he did not take the invincible kings seriously. However, at the same time, a true saint did not take him seriously. In front of a saint, he had no ability to resist at all. However, the speed of the nomological divine chains was too fast. They arrived in front of him in an instant. Damn it, block it for me. The half-step saint waved his blood-colored long sword, bringing with it a terrifying nomological fragment to resist. With a bang, his blood-colored long sword was directly broken in half, and the nomological fragments that he had shot out also disappeared. With a puff, he was pierced by the nomological divine chains, and blood spurted out. The half-step saint screamed in the sky. Blood splattered in the sky, piercing through the void, directly piercing through the mountains and rivers below, and terrifying black holes appeared one after another. It could not be helped. This was the blood of a half-step saint, which surpassed that of an invincible king. In fact, the blood even contained terrifying nomological fragments. It was extremely terrifying. The invincible emperors immediately fled into the distance upon seeing this, fearing that they would be penetrated by the blood. Above him, the half-step saint's divine chains pierced through him and nailed him to the ground. His broken bones and shattered body were restored once again. However, as soon as it recovered, it was crushed by the law divine chains. It was extremely miserable. From the looks of it, he was already in a state worse than death. "Who are you? Who are you?" The half-step saint screamed madly in the air. Although he wouldn't die immediately, he couldn't bear the pain and humiliation. After all, he was a half-saint. He was an existence that could kill invincible kings with a raise of his hand. Initially, Zhang Xian thought that he would be able to suppress everyone and snatch a saint artifact before living a carefree life. However, who would have thought that not long after he appeared, he would be severely injured by a single slap? Now, he was even pierced by the law divine chains. However, no matter how much he roared, no one answered him. The terrifying hand in the sky was incomparably cold. 2 more divine chains of laws descended and drilled into the half-step sage's cave. There was even one that directly pierced through his head, causing his soul to be severely injured. This scene made the half-step saint scream. He hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. "Please, spare me. I won't dare to have any ideas about the saint artifact anymore. If you let me go, I'll leave now. I'll never appear in front of you again in this life." He was really scared. He was really scared. From the looks of it, the other party wanted to kill him. The other invincible kings were also dumbfounded. There was dead silence. What did they see? A half-step saint was still flaunting his might and suppressing everyone. But now, in the blink of an eye, he was kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. The owner of this sky-covering hand was too terrifying. He was definitely a true saint. However, which sacred grounds saint was he from? They didn't know. Could it be a saint from a mortal palace? As soon as this thought came out, their eyelids twitched wildly. In a mortal palace, the 6 guardians stabilized their bodies and quickly swallowed heavenly treasures to recover. At the same time, they looked up and were extremely excited. The 6 of them looked at each other, their faces full of joy. However, they didn't shout, nor did they say anything. They wouldn't casually expose themselves in front of these sacred grounds' great sections. Buzz. The half-step saint begged for mercy in midair, looking extremely miserable. However, the sky-covering hand didn't let him go. With a wave of its palm, another 2 divine chains of order pierced through. 5 divine chains of order completely pierced through the half-step saint. The laws on them erupted, enveloping everything. With a bang, the half-step saint's body was torn into pieces. A miserable scream sounded, and a soul fled into the distance. However, it was immediately killed by the divine chains of order. Dead. A dignified half-step saint died just like that. Not even a trace of his soul escaped. This scene made all the invincible king's bodies go cold. They all trembled and couldn't help but want to kneel down. The reason for that was because that sort of ability was simply too frightening and too sharp. One had to know that that was a half-step saint. He already had 1 foot in the saint realm. It was only a matter of time before he could become a true saint. But now, he was killed just like that. It was as easy as killing an ant. Was this the power of a saint? These people sucked in a breath of cold air as their scalps went numb. They looked at the corpses of the 2 saints in the distance and secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, the corpses of these 2 saints couldn't unleash even 1/10,000th of their power. Otherwise, if it was a living saint, he would probably be able to kill all of them with a slap. In the sky, the terrifying sky-covering hand didn't disappear after killing the half-step saint. Instead, it lowered more divine chains of order and swept towards the 2 saint corpses. What? His target was actually also the saint corpses. No, it seemed that his target should be the Yuhua immortal robe. Heavens, was a saint finally making a move? Those invincible kings screamed. The Yuhua immortal robe was extremely mysterious. It was even rumored that it had the mysterious power of resurrection, making everyone jealous. But this time, the invincible kings of the sacred ground all appeared with saint fragments or saint weapons. In fact, those sacred lords and sect leaders hadn't even made a move yet. But they didn't expect that a saint would make a move. It was over. They couldn't resist at all. Retreat. Sure enough, the invincible kings of the Yi family, Gu family, and Great Xia dynasty roared and retreated one after another. There was nothing they could do. Even if they had intact saint weapons in their hands, they couldn't withstand it at all. Didn't they see that a living half-step saint was easily killed in an instant? If they dared to stay for even a moment, they would probably be pierced through by the divine chains of order very soon. All the invincible kings quickly retreated. Chapter 26:12. In an instant, only the corpses of the 2 sages were left within a radius of 1,000,000 miles. The 2 sages' corpses stopped attacking each other. Instead, they looked at the giant hand in the sky. They felt a threat to their lives. The other party's aura was the same as theirs. They were both sages. Moreover, it was a living sage. It was much stronger than the 2 of them. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 sages' corpses had no intention of attacking at all. They tore through the void and fled into the distance. The 2 of them did not have the strength to fight against a living sage for the time being. Unless they absorbed enough power or completely revived, they would not be able to fight against it. Buzz! 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 The giant hand covered the sky, covering the sky. Thousands of divine chains of natural laws hung down, dancing rapidly, directly piercing through the void. They swept toward the 2 corpses. They wanted to escape? How was that possible? The means of a sage were not something these invincible kings could imagine. Seeing this scene, the invincible kings retreated tens of millions of miles away. However, they did not stay idle. They hurriedly reported back to their sacred grounds and families. It seemed that they had no choice but to ask for help from an even more terrifying existence. Boom, boom, boom. The two sages' corpses were wrapped up by countless law-divine chains and kept colliding. For a moment, they were in a stalemate in midair. Terrifying energy surged. It was extremely terrifying. However, not long after, the sky split open again, and a figure appeared. Endless black and white she rolled and turned into two black and white dragons. They circled in the sky and quickly descended. Standing on top of the black and white dragon, there was a figure looking down. He had a sharp and monstrous aura. Sect leader, the sect leader is here. The invincible kings of the Yin-Yang sect were overjoyed and exclaimed. The other invincible kings looked at the sky and felt their scalps go numb. Could this figure be the sect leader of the Yin-Yang sect? They did not expect the sect leader of the Yin-Yang sect to come personally. Crack, crack. Another crack appeared in the void. 9 dragons were incomparably huge. They crushed the void and pulled a war chariot. An old man stood on the war chariot. He looked like a supreme divine king. The sacred leader of the Daoi sacred ground had also come. The group of people exclaimed. A beam of sword light streaked across the sky, covering thousands of miles. Sword chi filled the sky as a figure descended from the sky with a divine sword in his hand. It was the sacred leader of the Dayan sacred ground. Boom! A humongous object broke through the void and flew over. It looked similar to a dragon, with a pair of wings on its back that were covered in scales. It also had 8 arms. His eyes were filled with a biting cold aura. This was the palace lord of the demon sovereign palace. At this moment, he directly transformed into his true form and landed in the air. When those invincible kings saw this scene, their scalps went numb. It was rumored that the palace master of the Demon King Palace possessed the bloodline of the 8-clawed tyrant dragon. Looking at it now, it was indeed true. It was even possible that he was the descendant of the 8-clawed tyrant dragon. Figures arrived one after another. Many patriarchs and sacred leaders of major sects and sacred grounds had arrived. The eyes of the invincible emperors were filled with excitement. However, when the sect masters and sacred leaders arrived, their expressions changed immediately. This was because they saw the gigantic hand in the sky, and they felt their souls tremble. In particular, the divine chains of laws that filled the sky made their scalps go numb. Damn it! A true saint has appeared. These sect leaders were shocked. Although they were sect leaders, it didn't mean that they were saints. There were indeed sages in the various sacred grounds and great sections. However, they usually stayed in seclusion as their trump card and foundation. They wouldn't easily make a move. However, they didn't expect that a saint would actually make a move. Damn it! Which sacred ground is he from? These sect masters and sacred leaders acted as if they were facing a great enemy. They shouted coldly and took out their undamaged sacred weapons, which emitted millions of rays of light. Their strength was much stronger than those invincible kings. Therefore, at this moment, the power of the sacred weapons in their hands was truly overwhelming. However, no matter how strong they couldn't resist the divine chains of laws that filled the sky. The gigantic hand in the sky was floating up and down. In fact, the other party didn't even reveal his true form. With just a palm, those sect masters and sacred leaders acted as if they were facing a great enemy. In fact, they couldn't even resist. In the end, the expressions of those sect masters and sacred leaders changed drastically. They gritted their teeth and roared angrily. Run! In the next moment, they tore through the void and led the people of their respective sacred grounds and sects away quickly. There was no other way. They couldn't resist at all. Moreover, they could tell that the other party didn't use his full strength. Otherwise, they would probably have been killed by now. What a terrifying saint. It seemed that they really had to ask the saints of their sacred grounds to come out of seclusion and make a move. The saints of the various sacred grounds would usually go into seclusion to cultivate and break through. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, no one would disturb them. But now, for the Yuhua immortal robe, these sect masters and sacred leaders decided to inform the saints of their respective sacred grounds. After all, the legend of the Yuhua immortal robe was too shocking. Everyone retreated, leaving only the corpses of the two saints in the sky. They still wanted to resist tenaciously, but at this moment, the gigantic hand that covered the sky erupted with an incomparable light. Mysterious runes appeared on it one after another, accompanied by the gigantic hand that covered the sky, enveloping them. In an instant, the two saints' corpses were enveloped. In the next moment, the void shattered, billions of galaxies churned, and a huge black hole appeared. When the phenomenon of heaven and earth disappeared again, the sky regained its clarity. The two corpses were gone, and the laws that filled the sky were gone. The incomparably terrifying palm of the saints was also gone, as if nothing had ever appeared. Everything had disappeared. Everything had disappeared. Those invincible kings were terrified when they saw this scene. They had been trying to kill the two saints' corpses for nearly 2 years, but they couldn't do anything to the other party. In the end, in a short moment, they were sealed by a slap. This gap made them despair. The expressions of the sect masters and sacred leaders of the various sacred grounds also changed drastically. They didn't expect that they hadn't notified their saints to come out of seclusion. The other party had already taken away the two saints' corpses. This made it impossible for them to continue their search. Sure enough, a day later, the Yi family's saint came out of seclusion and walked between heaven and earth. At this moment, tens of thousands of divine chains of laws danced in the air, and a terrifying saint's might filled the world, causing everyone to tremble. As expected of the clan of the ancients, it was too terrifying. The entire world trembled. At this moment, everyone stayed dormant, not daring to have any thoughts of resistance. The Yi family's saint came out of the eastern wilderness and traveled all over the middle continent, the western desert, the southern border, and the northern plains. However, he could no longer find any trace of the Yuhua immortal robe. This made him extremely disappointed. Who exactly took away the Yuhua immortal robe? He came to the place where the gigantic hand appeared in the end and investigated the remaining aura. However, he found nothing. In the end, he could only return in disappointment. This time, the world was in an uproar. On this day, the world was shocked. Chapter 26:13. Everyone knew that a saint had taken action and taken away the Yuhua immortal robe. After that, the Yi family's saint came out to search for the 5 continents, but to no avail. This made many people wonder which saint it was to have such a powerful method, so fierce that not a single clue was left behind. Not long after, another saint came into being. This was the saint of the Great Xia dynasty. He was already very old because not only was he a saint, but he was also a living fossil. He was already very old, and it was even rumored that he was nearing the end of his life. However, for the Yuhua immortal robe, for the last hope, he had come out of seclusion. He had also used all kinds of methods, but similarly, he had found nothing. This made the people of the world even more shocked. The two saints repeatedly attacked, but they were unable to detect the other party's traces and aura. It was too unbelievable. Who was the other party? The outside world was in chaos, but here at Black Demon Cliff, it was quiet. The Crimson Dragon was waiting outside Black Demon Cliff. As for Lin Xian, his entire body was wrapped in countless rays of light. He felt that he had entered a strange space. In front of him, there was a light figure quietly looking at him. It was the remnant soul imprint of the 9-Sun Sword Saint. As for Lin Xian, he was sitting there cross-legged with a solemn expression, because at this moment, a wave of information was transmitted into his mind. This information was so huge that it gave Lin Xian a fright. Fortunately, his soul force was comparable to an invincible king. Otherwise, just the impact of this information would be able to injure his soul. It seemed that the 9-Yang divine body was indeed terrifying. Just this information alone was not something that anyone could bear. Feeling the vast amount of information in his mind, Lin Xian was also extremely surprised. The 9-Yang divine body was too powerful and too mysterious. He had also cultivated a lot of heaven-tier cultivation techniques, and there were even high-tier ones. However, none of them had such a vast amount of information like this. What grade of divine ability was the nine yang divine body? Lin Xian did not know, but thinking about it, it must be very terrifying. Very terrifying. Because this vast amount of information was only the first 3 levels. Only the heavens knew how terrifying the cultivation technique information of the complete nine yang divine body would be. After an unknown amount of time, the message gradually weakened and finally stopped. Lin Xian continued to sit there with his legs crossed. His eyes were closed, but the soul in his mind was spinning at an extremely fast speed, absorbing the additional information that was coming to him. He is shocked in his heart because he discovered that the nine yang divine body is too powerful, too terrifying. If he could successfully cultivate it, his physique would become incomparably strong. Perhaps it could be compared with the Yi family's sacred body. In the end, Lin Xian couldn't help but start cultivating because he really wanted to give it a try. However, the nine yang divine body is extremely difficult to cultivate. Lin Xian can only cultivate the first step of the first level. That was to first strengthen his bones, meridians, and qi and blood, according to the circulation route of the spiritual power in the book. Only when one's strength reached a certain level could they begin the second step. The circulation route of the nine yang divine body is too complicated and profound. It is extremely complicated. Even some of the undeveloped meridians of the human body have to be moved. One must know that the human body is very mysterious. There are even ancient sages who said that the secrets of the human body are more mysterious than the universe. Lin Xian followed the circulation route and circulated it. He carefully observed the circulation route map and seemed to form a vast starry sky map in his body. It was as if a universe was slowly forming. Boom, boom. After the first circulation was formed, Lin Xian felt that his body seemed to be different. The art of longevity activated and mobilized all the spiritual power in his body to circulate automatically. At this moment, Lin Xian's body emitted a ray of light. There was a mysterious force circulating. The aura on his body also became stronger. This is too magical. Boom, boom. However, the show has just begun. After one circulation, Lin Xian immediately felt that something was wrong. The meridians and qi and blood in his body seemed to be burning. A huge wave of heat enveloped him. Lin Xian frowned. His current strength is comparable to that of a late-stage 8-star. Ordinary flames can't cause any harm to him. In fact, he can even withstand the heavenly flames of heaven and earth. But now, he felt like he was being burned by a raging fire. That pain, even for him, made him grimace in pain. In an instant, countless wisps of white smoke rose from his body and turned into clouds that floated in the sky. His body was also incomparably red and scalding hot. There were even strange flames circulating on the surface of his body. Pain. It's really painful. This pain made Lin Xian extremely shocked. He also had the hellfire in his hand, but he found that the flame in his body was even stronger than the hellfire. It was not comparable at all. What's going on? How can this be? Lin Xian was shocked and suddenly opened his eyes. The 9 young sword saints afterimage opposite him said indifferently, "The 9 young divine body is the strongest body in the world, and it has to be subjected to endless tempering. Being burned by fire is only the first step. What? You can't even bear this little bit of pain. It turns out that this is the pain that has to be experienced to cultivate the divine body." Hearing this, Lin Xian was relieved. He thought that he had made a mistake in his cultivation. But now, it seemed that was not the case. This flame appeared because he had succeeded in cultivating it. In the next moment, he gritted his teeth and said, "It's just a flame. You want me to retreat? Impossible." With a roar, Lin Xian activated the 9 yang divine body circulation route even more crazily. "Come on, I'm not afraid of you." Lin Xian gritted his teeth, closed his eyes again, and formed a seal with his hands. In front of him, the 9 young sword saints afterimage looked at this scene with flickering eyes. More than one person had cultivated the 9 young divine body, but in the end, very few people had succeeded. That was because it was too difficult to cultivate. Everyone knew that the 9 young divine body was not inferior to the sacred body, but no one knew how difficult it was. A long sigh was heard. Indeed, the Yi family's sacred body was strong because the Yi family had a great emperor. The sacred body was formed by the essence of the great emperor's bloodline, and it was rare for one to appear in millions of years. It could be said that it was favored by the heavens. The nine-young divine body was different. It did not need the power of the bloodline, and it did not need a great emperor's ancestor. But in the end, how could it compete with the bloodline of a great emperor? It must be done with countless hardships. So now, Lin Xian was enduring this pain. The pain of the burning flame burned for 49 days, but Lin Xian gritted his teeth and resisted it. When the flame disappeared, Lin Xian opened his eyes with a pale face. He did not have a trace of strength in his body, and he could not stand up. He had no choice. He had exhausted all his strength to resist the burning flame for 49 days. Chapter 26:14. This was not an attack on him. If it were any other flame, he would have used the great dragon sword soul to extinguish it. But this was different. This was cultivation. Lin Xian could only bear it alone without extinguishing it. With a flip of his palm, Lin Xian took out a jade gourd. He swallowed a few drops of spirit liquid, and the spiritual energy in his body quickly recovered. His face also became rosy. This was not the end. Lin Xian poured some earth spirit liquid and smeared it all over his body. He let his muscles and bones absorb it. Now that he had obtained the first 3 levels of the cultivation method, he naturally knew how to cultivate and nurture the 9-yang divine body. It was not easy to cultivate the 9-yang divine body. It was even more difficult to cultivate it. In addition to enduring the burning of the fire, it also required all kinds of precious treasures to temper the body and develop its potential. Originally, Lin Xian thought that the treasures in his hands were enough. But now it seemed that it was far from enough. The energy needed to cultivate the 9-yang divine body was too huge. It was not less than the energy needed to revive the great dragon sword soul. After his body recovered, Lin Xian gritted his teeth and decided to try again. Thus, it was another 49 days of burning. Lin Xian felt that his soul was about to be ignited. This hellish ordeal disappeared without a trace on the 49th day. Lin Xian lay on the ground. He did not want to say a word. He could not even move his fingers. His soul controlled the jade gourd and poured out the earth spirit liquid. He dripped it on his body and poured it into his mouth. Soon, his strength recovered. Lin Xian looked at the broken light in front of him. He knelt on the ground solemnly and kowtowed 3 times. Thank you, Senior. I, Lin Xian, only had one master. But from now on, I will treat you as my most respected master. Lin Xian was very grateful to the broken light in front of him. One had to know that the 9-yang divine body was one of the strongest physiques in the world. It was definitely a great fortune for him to be able to obtain it. Lin Xian was not an ungrateful person. Good. I never thought that I, the 9-sun sword sage, would finally have a successor after millions of years. The glowing figure also laughed out loud. His eyes filled with joy. It was obvious that he was very satisfied with Lin Xian, because not only was his talent high, his willpower was also very shocking. It could be said to be the best. Out of millions of people, it was hard to find one. It was very difficult for ordinary people to withstand the burning of that kind of fire. However, the young man in front of him had actually endured it twice in a row. It had to be said that this really surprised him and made him happy. He could even foresee that in the future, there would be a 9-yang divine physique that would sweep across the entire continent. Good disciple, Master will give you a good fortune. The silhouette laughed out loud, then took a step forward and walked towards Lin Xian. In the next moment, he merged into Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian was extremely astonished. He felt as if his power was rising limitlessly, and it was as if he had broken through to become a 7-star king tier. Soon, he broke through to become an 8-star king tier, and finally an invincible king tier. This feeling was very strange because his cultivation clearly did not increase, but he felt that he had the power of an invincible king tier. With your current cultivation and physique, feel the power of an invincible king tier for the time being. The voice of the glowing figure sounded in Lin Xian's mind. In the next moment, Lin Xian saw his body begin to move. Of course, this was not controlled by him, but by the Nine Sun Sword Sage's silhouette. This? Lin Xian was shocked and overjoyed. He realized that the scene around him had changed. Countless dark clouds gathered in the sky, and terrifying bolts of lightning descended. It was as if a lightning tribulation was bombarding his body. Humph! He roared angrily, and mysterious runes appeared on his body one after another. They were like a sun that emitted boundless light. The lightning tribulation that filled the sky struck his body, making sonorous sounds. However, it could not hurt him at all. Boom! He threw out a punch and directly shattered the lightning tribulation that filled the sky. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian was extremely shocked. Is this the power of the Nine Sun Divine Body? It's too terrifying. The lightning tribulation was very terrifying. Lin Xian had never seen it before in his life. It could probably kill an invincible king tier. However, there was no reaction when it hit the Nine Sun Divine Body. It didn't even have to dodge. This made Lin Xian's heart skip a beat. Not only that, but the power of the Nine Sun Divine Body was also terrifying. With a punch, a large amount of lightning tribulation turned into powder and disappeared in the sky. Lin Xian was shocked and overjoyed. However, this was only the beginning. The scene around him changed again. All kinds of natural disasters and earthly tribulations rushed toward Lin Xian. However, under the power of the Nine Sun Divine Body, they were all destroyed. In the end, the surrounding scene even turned into countless invincible kings fighting with him. In the end, the Nine Sun Divine Body was unharmed. Lin Xian was truly astounded by this scene. If he cultivated the Nine Sun Divine Body, it would be terrifying to the extreme. Thinking of this, he was extremely excited. The Nine Sun Divine Body combined with the Great Dragon Sword Soul would definitely be powerful. These two things would be his greatest reliance on his path to becoming a great emperor in the future. Finally, the light figure slowly appeared from Lin Xian's body and landed in front of him again. However, at this moment, the light on the light figure's body was very dim. Although everything you saw just now was an illusion, if you can reach that step, everything will become real. The Nine Sun Sword Saint's light figure said in a deep voice. At present, I only have the first 3 levels. As for the last 6 levels, they should be in the depths of Black Demon Cliff. Due to some reasons, I can't have them. Don't look for them now, and don't think about them. When you have enough strength in the future, you can go back to the depths of Black Demon Cliff and explore. Master, I understand. Lin Xian nodded solemnly. The Nine Sun Sword Saint's light figure said again. I felt an unusually sharp sword chi in your body just now. Are you a swordsman? Yes. Lin Xian nodded. The Nine Sun Sword Saint's lips curled into a smile. It seems that the heavens have treated me well. It allowed me to take in a talented disciple here, and a swordsman at that. However, I don't have the Nine Sun Sword technique here either. You will have to find it yourself. However, I feel that the sword intent in your body isn't any weaker than the Nine Sun Sword technique. If you can get the Nine Sun Sword technique in the future, you will definitely be able to laugh at the world. Master, you flatter me. I will definitely work hard to find the Nine Sun Sword technique. When I have the strength in the future, I will explore the entire Black Demon Cliff. The Nine Sun Sword Saint's light figure nodded with gratification. However, in the next moment, his gaze turned serious. There is one more thing that I must remind you of. Back then, I had already cultivated the Nine Sun Sword technique and Nine Sun Divine Body to great success. However, in the end, I was still killed. Master, who was it that killed you back then? Who was he? Lin Xian was also very surprised by this question. He had already seen the power of the Nine Sun Divine Body. It was already so terrifying when it reached the invincible king realm. Thinking about it, the Nine Sun Sword Saint must have been an extremely terrifying existence among sages. Who was it that had such great ability to kill him? He didn't dare to imagine. Chapter 26:15. It was the Great Demon Saint. A great demon? He was very terrifying. But don't worry. Although I was killed, he won't live either. However, you have to be careful of his descendants. Their lineage is very terrifying. If you want to walk the path of the great emperor in the future, you will definitely encounter them. You have to be careful. Great demon. Lin Xian was extremely shocked. Then, he clenched his fists. Master, don't worry. If I meet someone from the great demon lineage in the future, I will definitely kill them and avenge Master. Good, good, good. The nine-sun sword, Saint laughed loudly 3 times. Then, he waved his hand. You can go now. Master, take care. Lin Xian's eyes reddened. He held back his tears and turned to leave. He knew that it was useless to let his emotions get the better of him. The nine-sun sword, Saint, was no longer in existence. What he needed to do was to cultivate the 9-young divine body and let it reappear in the world. Outside, the crimson dragon waited anxiously. He had been waiting for several months. If not for the light in front of him that was still shining, he would have been dead. He even suspected that something had happened to Lin Xian. Damn it! Did something really happen to this brat? The crimson dragon frowned. However, he soon shook his head. Impossible. That kid had many trump cards. Even if something happened, he should be able to escape. Moreover, it would take a lot of time to inherit something as terrifying as the 9-young divine body. After all, he was from the ancient dragon god race. He was knowledgeable and knew some powerful martial arts. No, he could learn them in a day or two. It was normal for him to take that long. Thus, the crimson dragon continued to wait. After a few more days, the light in front of him suddenly split open. A figure soared into the sky and flew out. He came out. Seeing this scene, the crimson dragon smiled. He heaved a sigh of relief, because the person who came out was Lin Xian. After Lin Xian came out, the light that filled the sky disappeared. The stone sword that reached the sky also slowly sank into the ground. Then, the entire valley healed again. It was as if nothing had happened. Whoosh! Lin Xian's figure flickered and arrived near the crimson dragon. How was it? Did you get the inheritance? The crimson dragon asked anxiously. After all, the 9-young divine body was a legendary physique. Lin Xian didn't answer. Instead, he smiled. He stretched out a finger and crooked it. Come, try to attack me. Kid, you're pretty confident. Then, don't blame me for being impolite. Seeing this, the dark red divine dragon's interest was piqued. He waved his dragon claw, and a terrifying red claw flew out. Whoosh! Clang! The void cracked open, and a sonorous sound rang out. Then, the crimson dragon opened its mouth wide, because the red claw mark it had shot out had shattered on Lin Xian's body. Oh my heavens, what's going on? How did your physique become so strong? The crimson dragon was stunned. You have obtained the inheritance of the 9-young divine body. He was extremely surprised. But that's not right. How did your physique become so strong when you just obtained the inheritance? Kid, what other defensive treasures did you get? No, it's just the 9-young divine body. But I've already cultivated it in advance and completed 2 cycles. Master also helped me a little. So now, my physique is much stronger than before. 2 heavenly circulations? Kid, you're crazy. The crimson dragon was speechless. This guy is really crazy. After obtaining the 9-young divine body, he actually started cultivating it on the spot. But what's going on with Master? Don't tell me you've become the 9-young sword saint's disciple? That's right. Lin Xian nodded. This is the second master in my life. I promised him that I'll make the 9-young divine body appear again in the future. Alright, let's not talk about it. Let's leave this place first. Lin Xian moved and flew out. The crimson dragon followed him. The 2 of them talked as they flew. Gradually, the crimson dragon had a general understanding of this. It seemed that the remaining 9-young divine body and 9-young sword technique should be in the depths of Black Demon Cliff. However, they couldn't go there now. At least wait until you become an invincible king before you come back to investigate. Okay, Lin Xian nodded. Now, just the first 3 levels of the 9-young divine body were enough for him to cultivate. It would definitely not be a problem for him to cultivate to the invincible king realm. The 2 of them directly broke through the sky and left Black Demon Cliff on the Black Earth. They didn't wander around outside. Instead, they directly returned to the Immortal Palace. because now Lin Xian needed a large number of heaven and earth treasures to cultivate the 9 yang divine body. Moreover, he was looking forward to this kind of divine ability. Therefore, he couldn't wait to return to the immortal palace. When Lin Xian returned to the immortal palace, the 6 protectors heaved a sigh of relief. They had already returned. When they learned that Lin Xian had gone out, they were extremely nervous, because it was very chaotic outside now, and even saints would appear. It made all the geniuses go into hibernation. After all, the timing was too chaotic. Hall Master, you're back. The people of the immortal palace went up to welcome him. Lin Xian nodded. 6 protectors, you're back too. He looked at the 6 protectors in surprise. Could it be that the whereabouts of the Yuhua immortal robe had already been found? In the end, who would get it? The Crimson Dragon was also surprised, because according to his estimation, it wouldn't be easy to defeat the 2 saint corpses. How could there be a result so quickly? This time, it was the 6 protectors' turn to be surprised. Hall Master, haven't you been outside all this time? Don't you know the news outside? They were extremely puzzled. Lin Xian said, when I went out this time, I encountered an ancient ruin and searched for it to cultivate. Therefore, I don't know what happened outside. Lin Xian didn't mention the 9 yang divine body. After all, it was too shocking. It was already on par with the Yuhua immortal robe. If it was exposed again, the various holy lands would probably gather at the immortal palace and attack it. Therefore, the fewer people who knew about this, the better. Next, the 6 protectors told Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon about what happened outside. When the 2 of them heard the whole story, they were stunned. Especially the Crimson Dragon, who jumped out directly. What? An intact saint weapon? Even a saint had appeared? He was too surprised. He had thought that the various holy lands would bring their saint weapons and fight a great battle. However, that was only a battle between invincible kings. But he didn't expect that a half-saint would come in the end. He even launched a sneak attack on the immortal palace and almost succeeded. But in the end, he was killed by a slap. A half-saint was killed on the spot. Just thinking about this scene made people feel terrified. Lin Xian's scalp went numb. Who exactly did it? Was it a saint? That's right, a saint? Which Holy Land saint? Was he the one who took the Yuhua immortal robe? Hall Master, please follow me. The 6 protectors didn't say anything else. Instead, they directly led Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon to the Starry Palace and activated the array formation. Chapter 26:16. Only the few of them were left in the hall. Why was it so mysterious? Lin Xian was puzzled, while the Crimson Dragon was surprised. Could it be that you guys got it? That's right, it was indeed obtained by Immortal Palace, but it wasn't us who did it, but the old Palace Master. What? The old Palace Master was a saint? Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were shocked, especially Lin Xian. He had seen Xiajuyo before. At that time, he felt that this old man was very terrifying. In his opinion, he should be an invincible king at the level of a sacred leader. But he didn't know that he had underestimated the other party. The other party was actually a saint, a living saint, an existence that could kill a half-saint with a slap. Heavens, he was much more terrifying than those sacred leaders. The Crimson Dragon also trembled. He knew what kind of existence a saint was. He didn't expect that the old Palace Master was actually a saint. Damn, no wonder Immortal Palace was so powerful. It turned out that they had such a foundation. The 6 protectors said, "Palace Master, you must keep this matter a secret. You must not tell anyone." This matter concerned the various sacred grounds and sections. The saints of the other sacred grounds and sects had also appeared. If the news was leaked, it would probably cause unnecessary trouble. It would be bad if it caused a war between the saints. Don't worry, the 2 of us will definitely not tell anyone. Lin Xian nodded. Since the Yuhua Immortal Robe was obtained by Immortal Palace, it couldn't be better. Because he was now a member of Immortal Palace, and he was the master of Immortal Palace. The stronger Immortal Palace was, the more benefits it would bring him. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon heaved a sigh of relief as they rejoiced. Fortunately, They returned to Immortal Palace after returning from Black Demon Cliff. If they wandered outside, it would probably be very dangerous. After all, it was very chaotic now, and many invincible kings were on the move. If they encountered the Yin-Yang sect and the invincible kings of the Tai dynasty, it would be really dangerous. Therefore, Lin Xian took advantage of this period of time to cultivate in seclusion. Firstly, he had to cultivate the 9-Yang divine body. Moreover, he also needed to cultivate the heaven-grade divine abilities that he had obtained. Just like that, Lin Xian went into seclusion again. This seclusion lasted for 5 years. During these 5 years, Lin Xian exhausted all of the heavenly treasures he had. He even used many of Immortal Palace's heavenly treasures to temper himself. He had just touched the threshold of the first level. It had to be said that the 9-Yang divine body was too difficult to cultivate. This was still because he was Immortal Palace's lord, able to use Immortal Palace's enormous treasury's resources at any time, and only then was he able to cultivate to this step. If it were anyone else, it would be even more impossible for them to cultivate. Putting aside the fact that he had to endure the tempering of the hellfire every day, that kind of pain was absolutely unimaginable. Moreover, the huge consumption of resources was too terrifying. It was not something that anyone could withstand. Perhaps only the Crown Prince and the Holy Sun were qualified to cultivate it. However, Lin Xian had also gained a lot in these 5 years. His physique and defense were definitely twice as strong. He didn't need to dodge ordinary attacks at all, because they couldn't break through his defense at all and couldn't cause any harm to him. Now, even if he encountered an invincible king, he could still contend for a bit. The reason for that was because his defense had truly become too powerful. This was something that he couldn't imagine before. This was only the first level. If he could cultivate the first level, his physique and defense would probably increase by several times again. Lin Xian didn't continue cultivating. Firstly, he felt that he had reached a bottleneck in these 5 years of cultivation. He wanted to go out and take a walk. Moreover, he estimated that the outside world should have more or less calmed down in these 5 years. Presumably, those saints and invincible kings would also return. Therefore, on this day, Lin Xian came out of seclusion. When Lin Xian came out, all of Immortal Palace's people rushed over to pay their respects. During these 5 years of seclusion, they would occasionally hear miserable cries from the Starry Hall. Those cries were all from their shopkeeper. They didn't know what had happened. There was even one time when Xing Tian wanted to forcefully break out of the formation. However, he was stopped by Lin Xian. Lin Xian told them that he was cultivating a kind of cultivation method and asked them not to disturb him. Hearing this news, the corners of Immortal Palace's experts' mouths twitched. What kind of cultivation method was it that made their palace master scream every day? This was too terrifying. Only the Crimson Dragon knew that it was probably the 9 Suns' divine fire burning in his body that caused that kind of pain. Thinking about it, this was really not something that anyone could bear. Those experts and elders probably couldn't bear it either. This fellow was truly a lunatic. After Lin Xian came out of seclusion, he called back Hu Yidao, Peacock, Ghostly, and the elite warriors around him. They all came back one after another. Lin Xian threw a big banquet. Firstly, it was to celebrate his great increase in strength. Moreover, he hadn't properly rewarded these people when they came back from the ancient tomb with him last time. Therefore, this time, he held it together. Not only the headquarters of Immortal Palace, but also the other halls. Lin Xian sent out invitations. Those hall masters brought the elites of their respective halls to participate in the banquet. Now, their view of Lin Xian had changed greatly. Previously, they thought that they were disdainful of a young boy as the palace master. However, the things that happened over the years, they knew that although the person in front of them was young, his strength was absolutely terrifying. They weren't fools. Their intelligence network was very sharp. They knew very well that Lin Xian had killed the saints of various sects and even killed the experts of the war tribe. The news caused the hall leaders to be utterly shocked. They even felt their scalps go numb. How old was the other party? He had already done such an earth-shattering thing. If he continued to grow, how terrifying would it be? it would definitely not be a problem for him to become an invincible king. Moreover, with his status and the support of a mortal palace, it wasn't impossible for him to become a saint in the future. Moreover, not to mention the other party's strength, his status alone made them have no choice but to bow their heads. Therefore, these hall masters had gone willingly and wholeheartedly. However, there was an exception, and that was the third hall. Because the third hall master was in seclusion, he didn't know what had happened in recent years. Last time, when Lin Xian ascended to the throne, his son was directly killed by the other party. It was unbearable for him. He went into seclusion, preparing to break through and then ask for an explanation. Rumble. At the place where the third hall was, a secret room opened. Then, a tall man walked out. His black hair fluttered, and his body was as strong as a tiger or wolf. At a glance, he carried a powerful force. He broke through. He finally broke through. Late stage 8-star. Moreover, he was in an extremely powerful state. He was even confident that he could enter the invincible king realm in the future. This powerful force gave him a lot of confidence. Come, follow me to the headquarters. The third hall master waved his hand and set off with his people. Chapter 26:17. The people beside him said, "Hall master, please take a look at the information we've gathered over the years." "There's no need to look. Nothing is more important than my revenge." The third hall master waved his hand and sent those people flying. That might be the biggest mistake he'd made in his life. That was because the information on those jade slips included the news of Lin Xian killing the saint and the battle tribe's experts. If the third hall master saw it now, he probably wouldn't find trouble with Lin Xian anymore. He might even be able to keep his life. However, he was very conceited and arrogant. He didn't read the news. Therefore, his ending was destined to be tragic. The third hall master led his men and flew toward the headquarters with a murderous aura. Immortal Palace was bustling with noise and excitement. Peacock, Hu Yidao, and the others had all returned. Those Immortal Palace warriors were also receiving the people from the various halls. The hall masters were very respectful at this moment. They didn't have any intention of being arrogant and despotic. Lin Xian was very satisfied with that. It seemed that the achievements he had made over the years made these people not dare to resist at all. Not only that, every single person from the various halls had brought a gift with them. These gifts were all extremely precious. Although it was only one hall, the strength of each hall was very terrifying. If they took it out, they could intimidate a party. Therefore, each of them had many treasures in their hands. These hall masters picked the most precious few and brought them over. Lin Xian was very satisfied and smiled. What he needed the most to cultivate the nine-yang body and revive the great dragon sword soul were all kinds of natural treasures and divine crystals. Now that the various halls took the initiative to give him treasures, how could he not be happy? Seeing Lin Xian smile, the hall masters also heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that they would be safe in the future. However, at this moment, a voice came from afar. The third hall master had arrived. Hearing this voice, many people turned their heads and looked into the distance. They quickly began to discuss. The hall masters were also discussing through voice transmission. The third hall master actually came out of seclusion. Was this guy here to cause trouble? They all knew what happened previously. The third hall master's son provoked Lin Xian. He didn't even put Lin Xian in his eyes and even wanted to rebel. Therefore, he was punished by Lin Xian according to the palace rules. This infuriated the third hall master. However, the third hall master had been in closed-door training and had only come out now. From the looks of it, they were coming with a vengeance. However, there were also some hall masters who shook their heads. That was impossible. No matter how arrogant he was, he wouldn't be so impulsive after looking at the intelligence reports of these years. Could it be that he thought that he was more powerful than the war clan's experts? That was indeed the case. The other hall masters nodded in agreement. In the past few years, Lin Xian's information and achievements had shocked them greatly. Even if the third hall master were to achieve a breakthrough, he would still submit to Zhang Xian. However, how could they have known that after the third hall master came out of seclusion, He didn't even look at the information before coming over. Up ahead, an aura fluctuated, and the void split open. A figure took the lead and walked over. Behind him, other martial artists followed. The person at the very front was naturally the third hall master. There was even a murderous aura coming from his body. Seeing this scene, the surrounding martial artists of the Immortal Palace were in an uproar. The martial artists of the other halls also exclaimed in surprise. The other hall masters frowned. Why was this guy still so reckless? Where was Lin Xian? The third hall master came to the square and shouted coldly. His voice was like thunder, spreading clearly in all directions. Hearing this voice, everyone's expression changed. Hui Dao stood out and shouted coldly. How dare you? How dare you call the hall master by his name? Third hall master, are you thinking of rebelling? Humph! Don't threaten me with the palace rules. Today, I'm here to seek an explanation. Why did he kill my son? The third hall master's voice was loud and clear, and his body was full of murderous aura. The aura of a late-stage 8-star king surged out. Feeling this aura, everyone's expression changed. A late-stage 8-star king was not a cabbage. He was a very terrifying existence. Those young martial artists retreated one after another, their hearts palpitating. The other hall masters also frowned. The third hall master had indeed broken through. However, did he think that he could cause trouble here with his strength of a late-stage 8-star king? He was really courting death. Should he try to persuade him? The fourth hall master and the fifth hall master asked telepathically. The second hall master snorted coldly. If you want to die, die with him. Don't drag us down with you. After saying that, he closed his eyes and stopped paying attention. Hearing this, the fourth hall master and the fifth hall master's eyelids twitched. They looked at each other and fell silent. At the same time, they quickly sent telepathic messages to their respective halls, telling them to stay far away and not interfere in this matter. Where was Lin Xian? Where was he? Did he not dare to come out? The third hall master was still shouting coldly. Right now, he was extremely arrogant. In the palace in the distance, Lin Xian was playing with a few red-crowned cranes. He held a few spirit fruits in his hand and kept giving them to the red-crowned cranes next to him. Suddenly, he frowned and looked into the distance. Who was making a ruckus over there? He asked indifferently. Replying to the hall master, the third hall master is here. Soon, a martial artist from Immortal Palace came to report. Hearing that, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Third hall master? Has he come out of seclusion? According to the news, the third hall master had just come out of seclusion and came directly to Immortal Palace. However, he seemed to be causing trouble now. Moreover, he seemed to be disrespectful to you. Speaking of that, the martial artist from Immortal Palace lowered his head. Lin Xian's face darkened. He waved his hand and put away the spirit fruits in his hand. He snorted coldly. How reckless! Let's go and take a look. Lin Xian stepped in the air and walked forward. The Crimson Dragon also followed at the side. That guy really doesn't know what's good for him. How dare he come here to cause trouble? Doesn't he know about your achievements over the years? He has just come out of seclusion and is eager for revenge. Do you think he has the time to care about what happened in the past few years? He probably thinks that my strength has stagnated a few years ago. Lin Xian sneered. He could guess what the third hall master was doing. In the square in front, the third hall master stood there and roared in all directions. The faces of the martial artists from the third hall behind him darkened. To be honest, they did not dare to cause trouble even if they were beaten to death. However, their hall master did not listen to their advice at all. They had no choice but to stand there and bear the gazes of countless people. However, when they attacked later, they did not dare to. Who dares to cause trouble here? At this moment, a cold voice came from the distance. Hearing this voice, everyone raised their heads. The third hall master also raised his head, and a cruel smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Brat, you finally came out. The others all shouted respectfully, paying their respects to the hall master. That's right, the one who came was Lin Xian. He stopped in midair and looked down coldly. Third hall master, how dare you cause trouble in Immortal Palace's headquarters? Do you know your crime? Chapter 26:18. Guilty? What crime did I commit? The third hall master snorted coldly. What right do you have to convict me? Just because you're the master of a mortal palace? You didn't get the position of a mortal palace master with your strength. If it weren't for the old palace master, do you think you could become the palace master? The third hall master was very arrogant. Today, I'm going to seek an explanation for my son. You want an explanation, right? Lin Xian sneered. Your son ignored the palace rules, publicly contradicted the palace master, and even wanted to rebel. Every one of them was a death sentence. I'm just doing things according to the palace rules. Why? Are you dissatisfied? What a bunch of nonsense. How is that possible? The third hall master snorted coldly. He naturally knew what his son did. However, he wouldn't admit it. He had come here today to teach this arrogant brat a lesson. Otherwise, his years of cultivation and seclusion would be wasted. Humph, third hall master. If you continue to cause trouble, don't blame the palace rules for serving you. At this moment, another cold snort was heard. Xing Tian walked out. His expression was very cold. Then, he turned his head and asked, Young master, I'll take him down now and enforce the palace rules. No need. I'll do it myself. Lin Xian shook his head. He had just come out of seclusion and wanted to beat someone up to practice. He wanted to see the power of the 9-yang divine body. Who would have thought that the third hall master would actually jump out of nowhere? Since that was the case, he would use him to practice. How about this? I'll give you a chance. If you defeat me, you'll have the final say. However, if you lose, you'll die. Are you willing to do that? Lin Xian said coldly. Because the third hall master was too arrogant. He didn't put him in his eyes and even openly provoked him. It was absolutely impossible to allow such a person to continue living. Otherwise, how could he continue to be the master of a mortal palace? He wanted to fight? Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Oh God, was the palace master going to make a move? It seemed that he really wanted to kill. The third hall master, on the other hand, laughed loudly. He was too excited. The other party actually dared to make a move against him? He was now a late-stage 8-star king. He was extremely powerful. The other party was just a brat, a 7-star powerhouse at best. No matter how talented he was, he would be able to surpass a level. But how many levels could he surpass? Could it be that he could really be compared to him? He didn't believe it. Brat, I have to say, you're really arrogant. You actually dare to attack me? Don't think that I won't dare to kill you just because you are the hall master. You can do whatever you want. Just use whatever trump cards you have. As long as you can defeat me, everything will be up to you. Of course, I've said it before. If you lose, you'll die. What is there to be afraid of? Bring it on. The third hall master snorted coldly and stomped his foot. A powerful force exploded and swept out in all directions. Immediately, the surrounding martial artists retreated one after another, afraid of being affected by this energy. So valiant. Immortal Palace's martial artists were all shocked. When they saw this scene, they couldn't help but worry for Lin Xian. However, the various elders and hall masters all started to frown. They had a different view from the younger disciples. They knew how strong Lin Xian was. The other party was able to kill so many saints and powerhouses from the war tribe. The other party's trump cards and strength were definitely terrifying. So what if the third hall master was a late-stage 8-star king? The third hall master was really courting death. Could it be that he didn't read the information over the years? It was very likely. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't dare to fight with the hall master. I guess he will be defeated within 1,000 moves. Those hall masters and elders discussed animatedly. They knew that the third stall owner had lost. On the other side, Peacock, Hu Yidao, Ghostly, and the others also sneered. He really didn't know what was good for him. They had followed Lin Xian all the way and naturally knew how terrifying Lin Xian was. Those people at the third hall master still wanted to remind him. They had some information over the years, so they wanted to remind him at this moment. They wanted their hall master to stop immediately. However, the third hall master turned his head and looked at those people. All of you, shut up. Get over there. Don't be accidentally injured by me. He would talk about this matter when he returned. He was eager to take revenge now. Why would he care about his subordinates? With a wave of his hand, a force wrapped around the martial artists at the third hall master and pushed them far away. Sigh, those martial artists at the third hall master landed on the ground, shook their heads and sighed. Their faces were filled with despair. After doing all that, the third hall master turned his head and looked at Lin Xian in the sky again. Seeing that you are now the master of the immortal palace, I will give you face and let you have 3 moves. After 3 moves, I will fight back. What? Let him have 3 moves. Everyone was stunned. Those hall masters and elders' eyelids twitched wildly. This third hall master was really arrogant. He even dared to let Lin Xian have 3 moves? Who do you think you are? An invincible king? F***CK. How could there be such a reckless person? The Crimson Dragon, Peacock, and the others also rolled their eyes. They had seen arrogant people, but they had never seen such an arrogant person. Now, even those top saints and princes would not dare to say such things to Lin Xian. Where did the third hall master get his confidence from? Lin Xian also smiled. Let me have 3 moves? You are so generous. Thank you very much. A mere late-stage 8-star king dared to let him have 3 moves? One had to know that before he cultivated the 9 young divine body, he was already able to kill a late-stage 8-star king. Now, after cultivating the 9 young divine body, his strength had increased again. Killing such a king would be extremely easy. Humph, the third hall master snorted coldly. Light flowed on his body and directly formed a pagoda that enveloped his body. That pagoda was very terrifying. There were mysterious runes on it that kept flowing. This was a defensive divine ability called the 6 Harmonies Pagoda. It was very powerful. Even martial artists of the same level could not break it, let alone the other party. He was confident that even with 3 punches, the other party would not be able to break through his defense. Therefore, after he used the 6 Harmonies Pagoda, he stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the other party coldly. There was even a hint of mockery in his eyes. Lin Xian descended from the sky and walked towards the third hall master. When he was 10 meters away from the third hall master, he stopped in his tracks. He raised a smile. Why? Are you ready to defend? I'm going to make a move. Come on, kid. Let me tell you, you'd better use all your strength to attack. Otherwise, you won't be able to break through my defense. The third hall master sneered. The others rolled their eyes. Lin Xian also stopped smiling. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite. In the next moment, he took a step forward, and mysterious runes appeared on his body one after another. Then, he threw out a punch. In an instant, Lin Xian activated the 9 young divine body. This punch immediately shattered the void. A power of extreme yang gushed out, as if a sun was pushing across the sky. Damn it, what kind of fist technique is this? The third hall master's expression changed instantly because he felt that the other party's palm wind was too terrifying. It carried an extremely masculine power. Before the fist arrived, the terrifying aura caused the 6 Harmonies Pagoda on his body to tremble. He felt a threat to his life. Chapter 26:19. Damn it, that's impossible. The third hall master roared and activated the 6 Harmonies Pagoda crazily. Suddenly, the 6 Harmonies Pagoda shone brightly, and the runes on it became even brighter. Boom! The two finally collided, and an earth-shattering sound was heard. Countless large cracks appeared in the sky and spread into the distance. The entire void shattered like a mirror, and black holes appeared one after another. The surrounding martial artists were so frightened that they hurriedly retreated. Poof! Crack! 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 The 6 Harmonies Pagoda instantly shattered into pieces. The third hall master also screamed and was sent flying. Blood instantly dyed the sky red. The surrounding martial artists were all stunned when they saw this scene. Their eyes widened in disbelief. The young martial artists' minds were blank. The hall masters and elders were also shocked. They knew that Lin Xian was very powerful and that the third hall master was no match for him. However, they guessed that it would take hundreds or thousands of moves before the outcome of the battle could be determined. But now, Lin Xian only used 1 punch. The third hall master was sent flying and was seriously injured. This was beyond their expectations. Even if the third hall master was passively defending and did not attack, the gap between them should not be so big. It's over. We've underestimated him. The hall master's strength must have improved by leaps and bounds over the years. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to be so powerful. It can't be. It's only been a few years, and his strength has doubled again? The hall masters and elders all sucked in a breath of cold air. His talent and strength are too terrifying. Even among the saints and princes, there were probably not many who had such a heaven-defying growth speed. Bang! Just as they were discussing, the third hall master landed heavily on the ground and shattered the void. He vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His bones were broken, and half of his body was blown up. His internal organs flowed out. Damn it! He let out a furious roar. Blood chi surged from his body, and his shattered body recovered once again. Buzz. Light flickered on his body, and he wanted to counterattack. However, in an instant, all the hair on his body stood on end. That was because Lin Xian had still arrived in front of him. What speed! The third hall master's pupils constricted, and the martial artists in the distance also exclaimed. They only saw a flash of light, and Lin Xian instantly disappeared. They couldn't even catch a trace of him. What? You want to make a move now? Didn't you say you'd let me punch you 3 times? This was only the first punch. There were still 2 punches left. Lin Xian's cold voice rang in the third hall master's ears. The third hall master roared angrily. He couldn't care less anymore. Go to hell. The other party's strength was terrifying. Even if he went all out, he might not be able to defeat the other party. Damn it, I was too careless. He was too careless. He didn't expect the other party to be so strong. It was far beyond his expectations. In fact, he had even surpassed him. How could this be? It had only been a few years. What had happened to the other party? How could his strength increase by leaps and bounds? He didn't know, but his life was the most important thing right now. With a furious roar, he struck out with his palm. At the same time, he retreated. Lin Xian's face darkened as his eyes flashed with killing intent. Give me 3 punches? Do you think you're qualified? But don't worry, I don't even need 3 punches. The second punch will be enough to crush you. Boom. Lin Xian attacked again. The terrifying fist erupted with an incomparable light that was so dazzling that the surrounding people couldn't open their eyes. The light was so intense that it caused the third hall master's eyes to bleed instantly. He felt as if his body was being burned by a raging fire. Now, he had no choice but to attack. He hurriedly burned his spiritual power and escaped crazily. However, how could he escape? That was the 9 Suns' divine fist. The fist was getting closer and closer. Seeing that he couldn't escape, the third hall master used his Dharma treasures crazily. Shields, pagodas, small cauldrons, and all sorts of defensive Dharma treasures were used to block the attack. Boom, boom. All the defensive Dharma treasures shattered in an instant and turned into powder. The fist finally landed on the third hall master's body. Bang! The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Tens of thousands of divine lightning bolts descended. It was a scene of destruction. The terrifying energy storm lasted for a long time before it slowly disappeared. When everything disappeared, everyone raised their heads and looked into the distance. Then, they were extremely shocked. Previously, Lin Xian was standing there with his hands behind his back. There was a mist of blood around him. However, they couldn't get close to him at all. His body was long gone. Not even a bone was left behind. The third hall master was killed. He was an 8-star late-stage king, but he couldn't even withstand 2 punches. Everyone was in a frenzy. At this moment, many people began to tremble, especially those martial artists from the 3 halls. They directly knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing. Hallmaster, please spare us. We were forced to do this. They quickly tried to distance themselves from Lin Xian. Lin Xian turned his head and looked around. At this moment, no one dared to look him in the eye. Everyone lowered their heads. They felt a pressure coming from their blood and soul. It was as if they couldn't breathe. He's too powerful. Although he's young, he's already displayed supreme power at this moment. He's definitely an invincible lord in the future. One slash. Lin Xian shouted coldly. Hu Yidao walked out and knelt on one knee on the ground. Hall Master, from today onwards, you'll take over the 3 halls. Is that okay? No problem. Thank you, Hall Master. I'll do my best to manage the 3 halls and build them well. Hu Yidao's eyes lit up. It seemed that Lin Xian was going to support him to be the new 3rd Hall Master. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the 2 objects floating in the sky descended. Then, he came to Hu Yidao. This is the token of the 3rd Hall Master, and this is the seal of the Tang Hall. I'll give it to you now. Do a good job, and don't let me down. Yes, thank you very much, Hall Master. After Hu Yidao took the tokens, his face was full of joy. All right, get up. Lin Xian waved his hand. A force wrapped around Hu Yidao and lifted him up. Then, he said loudly, "Let the banquet begin." The grand banquet began. The originally quiet scene became lively again. However, the hall masters were extremely shocked and cautious. They didn't dare to make any mistakes. Otherwise, they would end up like the 3rd hall master. The banquet lasted for several days before it slowly came to an end. After the celebration, all the hall masters left quickly. After returning to their respective camps, Hu Yidao also left the headquarters with the people of the 3 halls. Lin Xian looked at Xing Tian. Is the old hall master back? I'd like to see him. Okay, wait a moment. I'll arrange it right away. Xing Tian turned around and left. For hours later, he returned. Young master, come with me. The 2 of them took the array and kept teleporting. Finally, they came to a quiet place. The hall master was like a divine red color floating above the clouds. Lin Xian looked at this scene and was surprised. This method was really strange. Moreover, the surrounding spiritual energy was even richer than that of the Starry Hall. It seemed that this immortal palace was much more terrifying than he imagined. What he had mastered was probably just the tip of the iceberg. Chapter 26:20. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian flew towards the palace above. Soon, he entered the palace. Xing Tian closed the door and stood outside. Greetings, Elder Xia. Looking at the figure in front of him, Lin Xian bowed. Not bad, not bad. Your strength has increased very quickly recently. Moreover, you have taken good care of the immortal palace. Xia Juyo said with a smile. Elder Xia, you flatter me. I came here this time because there's something I don't understand. Oh, is it a problem with cultivation? Xia Juyo asked. No. It's just that I found something in the ancient tomb, but I don't understand it. I want Elder Xia to help me take a look. As he spoke, Lin Xian took out the bee skin scroll and handed it over. After Xia Juyo took it, his eyes lit up with a trace of surprise. This is? Lin Xian recounted the process of him obtaining the scroll. After hearing this, Xia Juyo's eyes flickered. So that's how it is. I didn't expect there to be such a thing. Elder Xia, what exactly is this? What kind of words are these? Why don't many people recognize them? This was a very ancient language. Not many people could understand it now. Xia Juyo's eyes flickered. He read it carefully, and then he was extremely shocked. Nest of 10,000 dragons. There was actually information about the nest of 10,000 dragons here. It seemed that something was going to happen to the nest of 10,000 dragons. Nest of 10,000 dragons. Lin Xian was also extremely surprised. One had to know that he had been looking for this place all this time. This was because the nest of 10,000 dragons was the burial place of the dragon race. There were many dragons inside. If he could obtain it, it would definitely allow the great dragon sword soul to recover even faster. Then, his strength would increase again. Therefore, he had always wanted to find this thing. However, he only knew that the nest of 10,000 dragons was somewhere in the central continent, but no one knew where it was. He didn't expect that he would finally find the whereabouts of the nest of 10,000 dragons. Not only was there news about the nest of 10,000 dragons, but there was also news about the Yuhua immortal robe and the corpses of the 2 saints. The more Xia Juyo looked, the more shocked he became. Lin Xian was also surprised. However, this matter had nothing to do with him. He couldn't use the Yuhua immortal robe now. Therefore, he only asked about the nest of 10,000 dragons in detail. Xia Juyo waved his hand, and a jade slip flew out. He used his soul spirit to engrave the information on it. Then, he handed it over to Lin Xian. This was the information about the nest of 10,000 dragons. It even had the location. However, with just our immortal palace alone, we definitely won't be able to take it all down. We have to find an opportunity to unite all of the true spirit continent's great sects and take action together. The Wanrong dragon nest was not so easy to break. They had to work together. I believe that with your strength, it won't be a problem for you to do this well, Xia Juyo said with a smile. Elder Xia, I understand. Lin Xian took the jade slip. Xia Juyo smiled again. Do as you wish. Immortal Palace is your most solid support. Moreover, if there really is a dangerous situation, I will also take action. Upon hearing this, Lin Xian smiled. He now knew that Xia Juyo was a sage, a living sage. It was extremely terrifying. With Xia Juyo's protection as his backing, he wasn't afraid of those great sections. Next, Lin Xian left and returned to the Stellar Hall. He had to make some arrangements. After all, this matter was too important. The commotion it would cause would probably be even more terrifying than the Yuhua immortal robe. After all, there was only one Yuhua immortal robe. The nest of 10,000 dragons was a huge treasure trove with countless heavenly treasures. It would definitely cause everyone to go crazy. As expected, when the Crimson Dragon learned the information recorded on the beast's skin, he was extremely shocked. His eyes turned red. One had to know that he was from the Divine Dragon race. He needed the 10,000 dragons suppression even more. Kid, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and take action. We have to dig out the 10,000 dragons suppression. That's really a treasure of the dragon race. If we can get it, we'll definitely make a fortune. The Crimson Dragon couldn't wait. Lin Xian said that it wasn't that simple. Just a mysterious ancient tomb alone caused such a huge commotion. Many invincible kings appeared with sacred weapons. In the end, even sages appeared. The 10,000 dragons suppression would definitely cause an even crazier commotion. We have to make a good plan. That's right. Bin Huang has to make more killing formations. The Crimson Dragon's eyes flickered. Next, Lin Xian called Xing Tian in and asked him to work with the 6 protectors to prepare for war. He knew that they wouldn't be able to enter in a short period of time. Even if they knew about the nest of 10,000 dragons, it was impossible for them to enter quickly. After all, the seal of a saint's tomb alone was very difficult to break. It would take a long time to break the seal of the nest of 10,000 dragons. Therefore, they had enough time to prepare now. Moreover, Lin Xian felt that they should find a few allies first. In the previous trip to the ancient tomb, he killed many saints and offended many holy lands. Of course, he also made some friends. Therefore, if the Immortal Palace made a move alone, they would definitely be resisted by the 5 Elements Palace, the Tai Dynasty, and the other holy lands. However, if they joined forces with some other holy lands, the others wouldn't dare to resist. Therefore, Lin Xian prepared to make a move in the near future. He planned to go to the Eastern Wasteland first and join forces with the Yi family, the Gu family, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, and the Purple Dawn Sacred Ground. Then, he would go to the Western Desert to contact Wu Hua of the Lanrua Temple and the 8th Prince of the Tai Dynasty, who was the current Crown Prince. He would also contact the Saintess of the All Beginnings Holy Land. If he could find Yin Ruyu, that would be great. Get ready. We will set off for the Eastern Wasteland, Lin Xian said to the Crimson Dragon. This time, the 2 of them would travel light. This way, it would be convenient. Secondly, it would be hidden and wouldn't cause too much of a commotion. After all, before this matter was completely exposed, the fewer people who knew about it, the better. 3 days later, Lin Xian and the Dark God Dragon set off. This time, they didn't even bring Xing Tian with them. The 2 of them took the super teleportation array of the Immortal Palace and directly teleported to the Eastern Wasteland. The main force of the Immortal Palace was in the central continent, but they also had some bases in the other continents. Therefore, it was very convenient to teleport between the 5 continents. With a flash of light, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon disappeared from the array. Outside, the other two battle kings of the battle race couldn't find Lin Xian. They directly went to the mysterious divine divination sect and asked them to find traces of him. The divine divination sect was a very secretive sect. They could deduce heavenly secrets. However, the battle race was a powerful ancient race. It was very easy for them to find the divine divination sect. They spent a lot of money to hire someone to deduce, but in the end, they discovered that the other party's traces had disappeared. This made them gnash their teeth in anger. The divine divination sect's explanation was that the other party should have returned to the immortal palace. All the holy lands had peerless defensive arrays. Therefore, it was very difficult for ordinary people to find them. The two battle kings were unwilling to accept this. They gritted their teeth and continued to wait. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.